There are additional seats available in the family resource room. Whitley, are we ready?
I'm going to unmute us and then we'll read. Yes, sir, we're ready.
All right. Good afternoon
That's ready.
and welcome to the July 17th meeting of the Children's Services Council of Piatt County. At 4:02, opportunities for public comment are noted on the agenda will be offered prior to any council vote. Please complete a comment card and provide it to Ms. Trinity Whitley in the green dress. Council members, remember to turn your placards upright to be acknowledged to speak. We'll now have the roll call. Ms. Whitley?
Mr. O'Brien. Ms. Richards. Here. Mr. Johnson.
Here.
Judge Hobbs. Mr. Hannah.
Here.
Attorney Cummings. Mr. Mitchell.
Here.
Mr. Watts.
Here.
Chair Jones.
Yes. Thank you. The agenda meeting pack were distributed, posted and distributed. Are there any changes to the agenda?
Yes, Chair Jones, I have two additions to the agenda that come from the July Finance and Budget Committee. First item, like to advise the council recommendation for a special presentation to add Superintendent Rocky Hannah, provide a brief overview of the Leon County Schools budget shortfall. And the second one is programming, recommended special 21st century after school program proposal.
Are there any other changes to the agenda?
Not that I'm aware of.
All right, if not, I'll entertain a motion to second to approve the agenda with your appropriate revision.
Mr. Chair, I will move the amended agenda as the Mr. Watts said.
All right, it's been moved and second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign, thank you. Unanimous. Now, general public comment. Ms. Whitley, we have speakers.
Yes, sir, we do.
Yeah, that's right. Yes, council members, we've received two emails as a part of our public comment, one coming from Marissa Betty Collier and Julia Dozier. All right, Ms. Whitley.
First, we have Miss Mona Hamilton. If you will, please come to the dais. State your name and address for the record. You will have 3 minutes.
Thank you. My name is Mona Hamilton.
I'm fine.
That's okay.
How many speakers do we have?
Total?
Yes,
I have not counted yet. I apologize.
because there, we have opportunity, depending upon the number, to potentially adjust the timing for our policy. I apologize, Ms. Hamilton.
That's okay.
This is a part of public comment, not for future.
Oh, for public comment. Sorry, thank you. 4.
Four, all right. Ms. Hamilton, please excuse me. I think that's.
No, this is general public comment. Ready?
Yes, ma'am.
My name is Mona Hamilton. My address is 135 Willmora Circle. Good afternoon. I mentioned previously when I was here, that I am a retired teacher. I was a foster mom and I was a volunteer. I say this again as I believe I understand your concerns for a vulnerable population. I've spent many, many years helping young people. Now, as a retired person, I'm hearing stories more frequently about friends, neighbors, and recently as well, cousins that are financially struggling to keep a roof over their heads. All true stories. These people do not have the luxury of increasing their income yet. Their property taxes, homeowners insurance, health insurance, food, car, and home repairs just keep rising in cost. One friend worries how she will manage when it's no longer feasible to repair her very old car that has been in the shop 3 times since April. I know this, I had to take her back and forth. The average cost of a new car now is just under $50,000, which is incredible. And so I'm here today to ask you 2 things. First, to spend the money you do receive carefully and judiciously. 2, and to ask you not to become disconnected from the current cost of living crisis and how it is impacting so many people in your funding base. Thank you very much for listening, and thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Ms. Emily Fritz. From our watch it, right? You state your name. Let's go.
Emily Fritz, my address is 1433 Bucare Drive. I think today you may hear some people say the sky is going to fall if you don't raise taxes. The sky won't fall. I've heard that term many times in my life about the sky fall. And when I was younger, I used to believe it, but now I'm older and wiser. Often the dreaded event doesn't even happen. And when it does happen, the well-prepared people with good problem solving skills get through it fine. Only the people who are ill-prepared struggle. During the COVID pandemic, tons of federal dollars poured into the state. They came to the state, they came to the local government, they came to nonprofits, they came to for-profits. The money came in like crazy. That money was never intended to be permanent. And the wise people who received the money were aware of the fact that the gravy train would stop someday. If they were well prepared, they had no problem. The only people who were panicking were the people who weren't prepared the gravy train to stop. This council has collected $30 million from the taxpayers of Leon County. With that $30 million, no childhood statistics have changed, and there's been no problem solved. You've got plenty of money, just haven't spent it well. If you were a business, the bank wouldn't lend you any more money. I have a list of 139 programs you funded. Now, 2 of these contracts were not executed, so it's really 137. You've scattered money all over the place. When you look at this list, it looks like the CSC doesn't know what it wants to be when it grows up. Soon, all local governments are going to undergo scrutiny by the governor's office and the legislature. One of the hottest uses property taxes. I don't think you should consider yourself exempt just because you're a special district. I think you could very well be subject to the same scrutiny as any other government body. If you raise taxes, you may put a target on your back, and it could end up with an embarrassing situation. Until you spend the money more judiciously, I reckon it would be unconscionable to raise taxes. Thank you.
Next, we have Ms. Margaret Bowen. Please state your name and address for the record. You'll have 3 minutes.
Name is Margaret Bowen. My address is 1505 District 5. And I just wanted to agree with the 2 former speakers to decrease the millage rate so the taxes don't go up. Yes to the rollback. Like she said, $30 million in 4 years spent. And I'd like to see the outcomes in number wise. What's happened with our kids in their programs when it comes to dropout rate? What happens when it comes to our teen pregnancy rate? What happens when it comes to our violent crime rate with our youth? Where are those numbers? Nobody ever shows them. It's not just about anecdotal things and people giving their testimony. This is great for me. This is great for me. I couldn't do this without this program. There's a lot of us who've done things without any kind of program like this. We cut our own budgets. We've taken time off from work. We've lost out on funds, and we've always taken care of our families. And I think when it comes to cultural problems like this, it's more than this entity can fix. What about the reading and the math rates, truancy rates, teen pregnancy rates? How's that hospital program working when we're paying moms to get their doctor's appointments? I mean, for me, it's like the bottom line is the responsibility for the individual. Some people in this room that are on this commission or this body, I don't know that they've ever met a tax that they don't like. And for those of us that have to pay all these taxes, it does matter to us, especially if we're retired and those kind of things. How about are there less premature births with the Tallahassee program at TMH? You guys have been spending a lot of money, and for me, I don't see anything but a black hole. And thank you for your time. You know how I feel. And I agree with you two former speakers. Thank you.
Last, we have Ms. Colleen Barton. I think that's not your name, I apologize. Name and address for the record. Name and address for the record.
My name is Colleen Barton. I live at 924 Hillcrest Court. Two quick issues. One, I've been a volunteer in Leon County Elementary Schools for the last 10 years. Sable palm, chairs, and so I see how poorly many, not all, some kids go to school. And I know that's allegedly one of your pushes to be prepared. However, I do not know the total number. I only was told that Kate Sullivan this last year, there was one section of VPK. So my thing to you is I want to see a full court press to go out and get these parents to send their kids to VPK. It isn't fair to that child to come in way behind. It isn't fair to other students who have, some of them who have been in some learning environment since they were 6 weeks old. And it's not fair to the teacher. So I have mentored a kid who was in first grade, could not count to 10. Now, people, when it's a free public VPK, I see no excuse not to go. So I'm urging you to go into churches, civic clubs, neighborhoods, whatever it takes to convince parents that they need to get their kids into VPK at the very, very least. And I would say there are no underperforming schools in Leon County. They're underperforming parents. So that's one of them. The other one, I'll be quick because I don't think I'm supposed to do two at once. But my husband and I are retired. We live on a fixed income. We have no pension, only the money that we have saved. So I'm urging you to be very mindful when you raise millage rates of what you're doing to retired people. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, that's all the cards I have for public comment.
Thank you to all of our speakers. We'll now deal with the consent agenda. Is there a motion to accept?
I will move the consent agenda, Mr. Chair.
Chair, second.
All right, it's been properly moved to accept, and then we would accept the consent agenda. All those in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, guys. Have it. We will now have our general counsel update from Mr. DeVoe.
No.
No update? All right. All right, next we have special presentations. Ms. Green.
Yes, thank you, Chair Jones. So our first presentation will be from UPHS Interim Executive Director, LaShawn Gordon. And as this council requested, he's going to give an overview of how the spending cuts at the state and federal level seems to have affected human services here in Leon County. Ms. Gordon.
Good afternoon, everybody. Glad to be before you. As Ms. Green said, I'm the interim executive director at United Partners of Human Services. We work with several entities in this space. We represent over 200 human service entities that are working with kids every day. It should be no secret that some of the biggest things that are impacting our community right now is education, housing, and healthcare. And one of the things we know about children, all of those things are essential for them to be whole and healthy. And so with the impacting the cuts that are coming down, the thing that's really happening is they're impacting the wraparound services for the kids. And a lot of times people forget that in order for kids to be whole and healthy, we have to wrap services around them. So that takes several different entities. A lot of these entities get pass-through money from our state and our federal government. And guess what? When that pass-through money dry up, services dry up. So a lot of our agencies are already having to lay off staff members. So as a result, wait times are longer on the telephone. We got a call last week, and I can openly share this from an educator who was facing some hardships. And as an educator, they had a hard time navigating the local system because of staff shortages. They got a voicemail just like everybody else did. And so it's already starting to be a trickle down effect for them. On the education side, and Justin's gonna come share some specific data, but on the education side, Early Learning Coalition, who is one of the biggest early childhood education providers in Leon County, has already lost $6 million in funding. And as a result, there are kids that are on the waiting list for those subsidized childcare services, and moms and dads who are not able to go to the jobs that they have that are already not paying them a livable wage. And so these impacts are great, very, very great. Another big thing you heard me talk about was staffing. So in order to be in aligned with ratio and safety and all of those type of things, we have to make sure that we're able to maintain staffing patterns. And just this summer, we've had several programs who have had to turn kids away because they didn't have the staff to accommodate those children in summer camps. So if you look at how that works, the older sister, the older brother, they stay home to take care of the younger ones. And guess what? You got 4 or 5 kids that are sitting home all day doing nothing. As a result, idle minds, what happened? Kids get in trouble, right? And so it's very, very important that, again, we don't lose these programs as a result of the pass-through money not being there. Trinity, if you can flip that slide for me. So I'll just hit this slide for you all, and then I'm gonna call Justin up. So one of the things that we did, we took a look at not just our local data, we also took a look at some state data, and we worked closely with the Nonprofit Alliance. Some of you all may be familiar with them, but they are a statewide nonprofit that's doing a lot of advocacy and policy work. So 52% of youth development nonprofits within the state of Florida will not survive 1 year without government grants, with 23% of them not having enough cash flow to last for 3 months. Skeleton. 62% of nonprofits within the human service in the state of Florida will not survive 1 year without federal government grants, with 33% of them not having enough cash to last for 3 months. And then lastly, 72% of nonprofits with mental health crisis intervention in the state of Florida will not survive 1 year without federal government grants, with 45% not having enough cash to last for 3 months. So, you know, the thing is, human service agencies don't have a surplus. There's not a whole bunch of reserves. So when we cut out the monies, there's nothing to tap into. That's it.
Good afternoon. So within our next slide here, a lot of the funds that we're discussing today really focus on the localized funding perspectives. And there are going to be 4 organizations that I'm going to share with you today that are already being affected by federal funding freezes, as well as proposed budget cuts within the federal government spending budget. The first one is the Second Harvest of the Big Bend, and they will see a decrease in fresh food items that they can provide to partners in our community due to the local food purchase agreement program being cut. And that will be a $3 million loss, as they can access $250,000 of that per month. Leon County Schools is currently facing an immediate freeze on funding federal grants, and over $6 million of its funding that supports programs like teachers training and Title II, gifted and early learning programs in Title IV, and after school initiatives have also been withheld. And then Elder Care Services is still waiting for their funds to be released from the Office of Management and Budget to continue their foster grandparent and senior companion programs. And these initiatives employ seniors on a small stipend to help in schools, daycares, and other senior homes and facilities. And they have had to let staff go and lose critical volunteers that support that work. Within the next slide, we speak to Legal Services of North Florida, which serves 16 counties here locally. And the terms and conditions of the RFPs that they have changed significantly. One grant was terminated and then restarted randomly a month later, which made it significantly difficult for services and deliverables to be met.
And then one of the grants to serve unaccompanied minors just disappeared at the moment that it was supposed to start for them. So in understanding the facts, and our next slide, we realize in our own personal survey that we're doing within UPHS membership organizations, that most UPHS organizations will be affected as grant dollars received by our members are federal pass-through dollars from state agencies. And then from a study that was done by Candid, which is formerly known as GuideStar, and the Urban Institute Center on Nonprofit and Philanthropy, human services ranks as the most vulnerable subsector, or 71% of its funding being cut, followed by health organizations and education organizations at 70 and 68% respectively. These are our references. Again, as LaShawn stated earlier, a lot of our data comes from the publicly sourced Candid system, which is formerly known as GuideStar, that has all the IRS documents for organizations that submit their 990s, as well as the Urban Institute, which works with Candid and doing a lot of this work to understand what is going on with our nonprofit sector, not only nationally, but state and locally from the perspective. We are also in great communication with the Florida Nonprofit Alliance, and they shared a Florida Nonprofits and Federal Funding What Do You Need to Know document with all of their members most recently to understand the impact of our dollars and how we help our communities, and not only from a state perspective, but regionally and locally with our counties. Just a fact point, Florida's 67 counties, 64 of them receive some form of government funding. So as we see with a lot of what's going on today, a lot of our organizations will be pigeonholed into having to select which programs stay and which programs go when it comes to our funding here, not only locally again, but state and nationally. Any questions?
Council members, any comments, questions? I'd like to thank the United Partners for Human Services for coming to make this presentation. It was more than 20 years ago when Kelly, Adi, and I and others would take what was formerly the United Way Executive Directors Group and create what is now United Partners for Human Services. And now it is an organization that includes more than 100 providers who, quite frankly, are the safety net all the time for working class families and specifically children. So we wanted them to come today to provide an overview of what those impacts in terms of being the safety net for our families through the services that they provide. As what you've heard today most clearly is that the safety net, the holes have got bigger in the net. And so with holes being bigger in the net, that what they were supposed to catch regrettably can now fall. But thank you for providing that level of subject matter expertise on a viable industry found here in our community that are oftentimes, many of them are funded by the Children's Services Council to be just that safety net. So thank you very much. Next up, we will now have a presentation by Leon County School Superintendent Rocky Ham.
So, I think a little later, we're gonna bring a proposal before the council. But I just want to kind of reiterate what was mentioned just a few minutes ago about the financial position that we find ourselves in going into the start of the 25-26 school year. I had a chance to share this information with the Finance and Budget Committee last week, and I wanted to now share it with the entire council. So the Florida legislature this year, we have two big funding sources. The largest one being from the legislature through the Florida Education Finance Program. The legislature this year increased the base student allocation by $41 a student, or 0.7 of 1%. For us, that was about basically revenue general through the FEFP, which equates to around $370 million between what's given by the state, what we generate here locally as a part of that formula. Because of that, but we also, on the other side of the ledger, have an additional $6 million of expenses. We have an 8% increase to health insurance, which is about $3.2 million. A $750,000 increase to the Florida retirement system, our contributions for our employees. A $400,000 increase to our contract, Leon County Sheriff's Department, to have deputy sheriffs in our schools. A $350,000 increase to the Leon County Health Department to have school nurses. So all of those increased costs with the same amount of revenue. So we, at the end of last year, are required by law to have at a minimum a 3% fund balance. So of that 370 million, 3% is a little over $11 million. So that 6 million, because the revenue is equal without anything else being cut, would have to come out of that fund balance, which would then bring our fund balance down to around $5 million. So to get back to that 11 million, which is required by law, we're going to have to make significant cuts and changes on our budgeting through the FEFP on the general side of the ledger. Well, as mentioned earlier, in addition to that, 3 weeks ago, we were informed by the Department of Education that the federal government has frozen and is now with the Department of Budgeting and Management several of our federal grants, including our Title II grants, which is all of our professional development, mentor teachers, beginning teacher trainings, and those types of things. Title III, which supports all of our ESOL students and those programs required by statute. And then Title IV, which Brooke will speak a little bit later, he was our Director of Early Learning. Title IV Part A, which is all of our gifted instruction and enrichment instruction that we do with our 30,000 students throughout the district. And what I want to talk to you all about, Title IV Part B. Title IV Part B, for over 20 years, has served what's known as 21st century programs throughout Leon County in all of our Title I schools and most of our Title I schools. That's over between 1,500 and 1,700 students that receive academic instruction, tutoring, enrichment activities, and those types of things from the hours of 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. in predominantly our elementary schools and our middle schools. That's around $2.1 million of that 6 million that fund those programs. That's critical. I have the principal of Sable Palm behind me. The Sable Palm Elementary School went from a D to an A. A big part of that was all of the after-school activities and academic instruction that they were able to give those kids beyond the bell activities, tutoring and things like that. So I'm coming to the council today. We formed a partnership with one of the organizations that we have supported in the past. We'll give more information about that in just a minute. But I'm coming today pleading to the Children's Service Council to fill the gap that's been left. We do not have the ability to fill it out of our general revenue. We simply don't. We've already reassigned people in both Shane's shop and Brooke's shop to other assignments. And unfortunately, some people are going to have to be let go. We will find a way to manage with that $6 million increase in costs this year. However, this spring, if all things are equal, the pain's going to be real for our school district, and many things are going to be on the chopping block. But right now, the most critical need is for us to find a way, and I think this is why this Children's Service Council was set up to begin with, was to fill this gap, to fill a hole. We have a way to do it where the school district is going to step up and provide in-kind for all of our facilities, all of our utilities, for food, for kids to have dinner. So a lot of these kids rely on those 21st century programs to have dinner before their parent picks them up and takes them home. So this is a crisis as far as I'm concerned. These are programs that have been in place for over 2 decades. Right now, we have no place else to turn other than the Children's Services Council to step up and fill this gap. You have any questions to me about our budget situation or?
I have one. The term freeze has been used a couple times. When I've reached out to the federal government, who has indicated that it is a pause. Termination has not been made as to whether or not they intend to continue funding or not. So I think your problem and the crisis is real, and I'm not discounting that. But the word pause means that they can unpause it, at which point the funds would continue to flow. Specifically as relates to the 21st century grants. Is that consistent?
That's accurate. Yes. Yeah. So right now it's under review by the Department of Management and Budget.
Right.
But there is no timetable for when that review is going to conclude. We had a conversation with superintendents throughout the state and the Commissioner of Education. The 2 superintendents were in Washington, D.C. to try to get more information and really didn't get anything that they could share of significance. The department is going to send a delegation, I guess, to Washington. They said at the end of the month, at the end of July. But right now we are making plans as though these dollars will not return.
And just so that I understand, your funding period ends on July 31st, right? It's not tied to the federal government for this program. It runs out at July 31st.
I think that's it. That's for the program. Yes, that is.
Okay.
Yeah, I want to make sure.
So it really, this is not a point of tying it to the federal government's fiscal year, because that would be October 1st. This is,
Right.
There's a reason on whatever today date is that we are, thank you. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
I just want to, Mr. Superintendent, thank you for your presentation and analysis of the bleak financial situation that we find ourselves in. I also want to thank Ms. LaShawn Gordon and her assistant as well for giving us all the numbers and making us, recognize it.
I understand the rules about Children's Services Council and the role that the public school system can or cannot play. And we think we've come up with a very creative solution that we'll present a little later. But I just think that this is why this organization was created. This is why 60% of the voters in Leon County approved up to 0.5 mil to support a Children's Services Council to fill the gaps for children who otherwise would be unserved.
Just the superintendent, just one follow-up question. And I guess this will, when you do your ads, specific ads later on in the meeting, it will establish, I guess, the coordination, school system, United Partners, all the various entities that are represented here today.
Yes, ma'am. Well, not all of them, but we do,
Also,
because in statute, it says the Children's Services Council can't
supplant.
be a direct, well, and this to me, let's be clear, this is not supplanting. The money that had been there is no longer there. And we don't, right?
It's no longer there today.
Correct.
It could be.
Right. So right now, there are a bunch of zeros. Mr. Mitchell's point, one day it could be, but we are preparing for the worst and hoping for the best while understanding that hope is not a very good strategy. Right?
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Other comments? Thank you, Mr. Superintendent. We'll now move to committee reports. The committee reports are all included in your packet. If there are no questions regarding the executive committee report, your motion for acceptance.
I will move the, what,
Executive committee.
right,
This executive.
okay, yes, I'll move.
Second, there's a properly moved, second, and we accept the executive committee report. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed by like sign. Thank you, passed unanimously. Now, the Finance and Budget Committee, Mitchell.
Yeah, that's why I was kind of pausing. I'm wondering, I think when I knew that there was going to be a special presentation, I thought it would go in front of the budget because it will help determine, well, it will matter. So mean, I'm happy to give, here's what I'll tell you. There's two items. One is the financials for June of 2025, which is in everyone's packet. There's nothing earth-shattering or startling in those numbers. We are in good financial condition as we sit here today. And so I would ask that the full council accept the financial reports through June of 2025 and delay the discussion on our budget and the millage rate until after the presentation by I guess is it Brooke that's doing the presentation? Only because I think it matters. I agree.
Then a motion to.
Well, I'd love one.
I'll make the motion.
Yeah.
I need to make the motion.
I'll second.
Motion is what?
The motion is that we accept the financial report through June 2025. That is item A, and item B, which is discussion of the millage rate and the 25-26 budget be postponed until after Superintendent
Item C under.
Yes, sir.
Treasurer, I think it would be better process-wise to ask for a motion to approve the financials and get that done. Then you could just ask that the
Okay.
two I move to after program.
Mr. O'Brien, are you good with that?
I'll check with that.
Yeah.
All right, so if you restate the motion, Mr. O'Brien.
Do what she said.
I think just the financials.
And we have that thoroughly documented that we would accept the financials and would be to follow the presentation made by the superintendent. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Thank you. We now go to programming, family strengthening program renewals.
Mr. Chair, if I may direct the council to page 30. So while these are listed in your agenda as two separate, I guess that's two family support, we actually present it as one report. So on page 30, we'll see the synopsis and the options for renewing the family supports programs. On the following page, on page 31, you will see the investment summary from August 1st, 23, just through December 31st, 24, with that total investment. Those are our partners, Carter's Corner, Legal Services of North Florida, the Oasis Center for Women and Girls, PACE, and SG Mental Health. You will see there some of the outcomes that we saw from those programs. And if you turn to page 32, as we have done in the past, we used a rubric to come up with the options for renewal for those programs. So if you look at that rubric for each of the programs and go down to the overall score, you will see that Carter's Corner, 24/7 Dads, 87%, Legal Services of North Florida, 78%, Oasis, 89%, Oasis Second Program, 86%, PACE Center for Girls, 52%, and SG Mental Health, 42%. You'll also see a summary of the investment participant, as well as the award amount and the disbursement. So if I direct you back to page 30, we thought it best to provide some options to start the conversation if necessary. So option one, the targeted renewal and improvement plans. So this will be the highest investment with funds returning to the budget of about $151,000. So for this option, green programs would be funded for an additional year with a 10% increase and an option for additional renewal based on performance. Yellow programs would be funded for 1 year at level funding and required to do a performance improvement plan. Red programs would not be renewed and any remaining funds would go back into the general program budget. Option two would be high performance only renewal. That's a moderate investment and funds returned would be $238,000. With green programs funding for an additional year with a 10% increase and include an option for renewal based on performance. Yellow and red programs would not renew, remaining funds would come back to the budget. Option three would be renewal plus a new partner solicitation. So this would be the lowest reinvestment amount and the funds returned would be $316,300. So green programs would be funded for an additional year at the current level and include an option for renewal. Yellow and red programs would not be renewed. We would issue a new funding opportunity to solicit proposals from new or innovative partners with the remaining funds redirected to the competitive funding process. So that's the overview for the family strengthening renewal options for next fiscal year 25-26. These renewal options, whichever one you choose, is contemplated in the budget that you will look at and approve later on.
Council members, any discussion?
Mr. Chair.
Oh, sorry, yes. Oh. Brett?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask Zika, when you say it's contemplated in next year's budget, at what level is it listed in next year's budget?
So it is listed in next year's budget at $1.1 million.
And which option is that?
That's just a placeholder if you were to renew all.
That's before any of the returns. 1.1 is before any of the returns.
Yes, that's before any of the return and funding.
Council members, any?
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just have a question this screen. I was just looked at the analysis that expectation. All right, I don't know if your Bibles me only categories which is no. That's an English. I will attempt to do anything on those programs, the yellow and red program, those attempts are done.
No, it doesn't mean that there's no attempts. In the instance of Pace Center for Girls, they had a change in leadership. So there was a period of time where there were no services being rendered. They also were not able to meet the contracted number of participants. And so we did try to do an amendment to reduce the number of participants. But overall, when you look at the timing of when everything started, it resulted in them not being able to meet these areas.
Is that pretty much the same thing with the
Same thing with SG. Yes. And this takes into consideration using our data system and putting your information. So all of the areas can see there. I will also say that our small staff really worked with all these organizations to ensure that they were answering any questions. They each had an assigned performance partner. But at the end of the day, we feel it prudent to give to you the picture and then allow this council to make the decision.
And it just follow up, I guess, Mr. Chair. I know we worked at Pace Center for Girls before. It's real system because it's female girl. That we are dealing with, we pretty much think changing the leadership had an adverse effect on that performance under that.
Right, and it's not that the leadership wasn't adequate, it's that it wasn't there for a while. Pace had a few issues, hiccups that even predated this contract. So that's really what affected, I think, the successful.
Yeah, I just had one comment to make. One, Sika, and team, nicely done. As if you're running your family's budget, everybody has difficult decisions to make. If it makes it especially difficult if everything is performing at the same high level. I think that, and I too am a personal fan, based on for girls. But we have difficult choices to make. And there are people in this room who are sitting there hoping that we choose them, and not that we can't do everything. We all have to accept that. So at some point we do have to, and I like the idea of the options, Sika. At some point we have to make tough decisions because, oh, by the way, regardless of where we fall on the millage rate, the people we impose a penny to have to make difficult decisions. And so doesn't mean they can't come back. It doesn't mean, but I'm glad that you pointed out where they're doing well and where they're not doing well. And when I look at a system that is recognizing excellence and giving them the opportunity for additional funds, and I think that's exactly what we should be about. It's what, regardless of the side of the millage rate issue you're on, everybody wants us funding programs that work and that work well. Period. Thank you.
Superintendent.
So, yeah, I have a question. So the total recommendation from Director Green is 1.1 million.
In the budget itself.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
For this year's budget.
Yes.
1.1, right?
For 25-26.
Right.
It's a placeholder because depending on the option, it'll be. So if you were to fund all of them at the same level that they all got before, it would be 1.1. The options that we're presenting reduce that 1.1 by the numbers you see at the top.
And behind this is another ask, right? So my question is, if we approve these items, then there's a presentation made for emergency funding for another program to continue the after school programs. Do we need to talk about millage, or is there still room in our budget to fund the additional asks?
So it depends on, like, if the way that we've done the placeholders, there are additional dollars, or if you're talking specifically about, it's obviously not going to be called 21st century, but to replace that program. If we did everything exactly as it is, we still have that money.
So even if both of these are all, this stuff is approved, there's still $2 million left in this year's budget.
These are in 25-26 proposed budget. So yes, it's the answer.
Ms. Richards.
So, this may be a question for Okay. This may be a question for Director Green. The estimated cost per participant.
That's okay. Okay, go ahead.
I'm trying to understand the numbers here. Is PACE so high because they weren't is that high because they weren't able to reach the enrollment rate, or is that based on what they had predicted their enrollment rate would be?
This is based on what they did.
This is based on what they did. Okay.
So these are the estimated cost per participant. I'm sorry,
after the
per
program.
participant, given the number of participants that they served.
Okay.
Mr. Watts.
Yes, so a few things, for the red.
Yes.
And I think I heard this one confirmed, so even though they were having the struggles, that I hear that we, can make the decision to kind of change the agreement, their deliverables.
If you choose,
No,
If-
I mean, let me clarify. I think that you all, the team, executive team, or made a decision to change the deliverables.
No.
No.
No, no, no.
Okay.
no. For Pace Center for Girls,
Mhm.
we had to do, we tried to do an amendment because literally with the program not starting, it should have, it was going to, we tried to amend to what they were serving. But we couldn't amend the amount of money that they actually had. So in other words, as you can imagine, many times when programs, see that maybe a line item might be more than they thought or less than they thought, or let's say, if I'm just being honest, let's say they realize that they didn't start something or should have started something, you try to amend the budget to right size the budget. Unfortunately, with PACE, because it was such a delay, there was no way to really amend it. So we were looking at, should we amend it to maybe reduce the number of children that they serve, but when you look at the misses here, we don't know that they will be able to have some.
Okay, I understand the amendment, so it wasn't that we're amending to.
Their performance.
It was the budget that originally.
Right.
Or to accommodate the numbers. that
Right, we don't amend to performance.
Okay,
So the contracted performance is the contracted. So we don't amend to that, but we might amend budget numbers depending on if you realize you need more money in a line and it's aligning with what you're doing.
and I watched the finance and budget meeting, but I can't remember who gave the presentation. Might have been executive around legal services of North Florida. They're in yellow, but I thought maybe they articulated that wasn't there.
So they did start 6 months late, but it was because we had to work with them on their contract because many of the data points that we needed collected, they by law cannot slow fast. So we had to change up their deliverables a little bit, so they didn't start until almost maybe 6 or 7 months.
I just wanted to make sure that came
And
out.
so that's why you see that almost there.
I just wanted to make sure that came out, that I understood that because I see stuff over there. I mean, I just know personally that team impacts several of our outcomes significantly of what we're trying to do. I just want to make sure that that yellow for them is
It's tied.
it's not tied to so it's what that's it in regards to any decisions.
Yes, Mr. Chair, based on our performance analysis, I believe that we fund the green program for an additional year at the current level with the option to renew.
Option one, option three, option three, which option?
I'm sorry, I'm on option 3. I'm not necessarily verbatim. But my motion is to fund the main program for this at the current level. With the option of approval based on performance.
Three.
So there's 3.
It's 3.
Okay.
And Commissioner, can I say this? So you don't want the option 1, I think even option 2 rewards those green programs by giving them a slight increase for doing well. Is that, you just think we should?
Well, I thought, I was doing those contracts. We've always been.
That's fair.
Okay, but number 2, I'm just sort of conscious because in anticipation of the superintendent and their requests for leads and what have you, So I think rewarding them, they've done a great job, they're serving our children, that's what's important, so I just believe reward people.
So your motion that still requires a second is for option.
Yes, pretty much.
I'll say yes, it's in without bullets too.
Yes.
So if I'm understanding correctly, Commissioner Cummings' motion is option 3 without bullets 2, 3, and 4. Just renew the programs at their current level with the option to renew programs.
And not to renew.
And not to renew
Yellow.
yellow and red, and not to issue.
So it's bullets 3 and 4 that is.
Yes. So
It's,
yeah.
but so we're clear, everyone, it's gonna be option 3 per Mrs. Cummings. With the exception of bullets 3 and 4 issue funding opportunity and remaining funds reiterated that budget process. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Is there properly moved and seconded? Is there any additional discussion? Are there any?
Do we get to, the public first?
Yeah, well, if you have a discussion on it.
I do, and this is gonna, that's a surprise to everyone in this room or anybody who's ever come here before, that I'm actually, appealing for reconsideration. I'll explain this to you. I'm very sensitive to what's coming next. That's the reason I moved it. The good news is I believe that the money for the superintendent's ask is there and that we can fund it. So I'm okay if that's, you want to stick to it. I'm not, there's no
Except for friend amendment.
if the 10%, Sika, means that we are putting 10% more kids through the successful programs, then I would like to give those that had succeeded. If it's just to give 10%, so we give, pay increases, no offense to those performing services, I probably wouldn't pay for it. I got the impression that the 10% was to reward those programs who were in the green, and to give them the opportunity to provide same services to more people.
So it would be a combination of providing services to more participants. But at the same time, when you serve more participants, there could be increases in some of your admin. So it would be proportionate.
Okay.
But we would not expect that a 10% increase would mean you serving the exact same amount of kids and all of a sudden every other line goes up. So, we have one of the best financial minds on our staff to make sure that didn't happen.
Yes.
In the.
All right, so
the 1.1 million that we put as a placeholder on the finance committee would be reduced by $316,000.
I'm sorry.
Unless there's gonna be a friendly amendment, I'm ready for public comment.
I'd like to hear the public.
All right, thank you. How many minutes do we have?
We have 5.
Did you have a comment for part of our discussion? All right, public comment.
First, we have Miss Glenda Thornton. Please come to the dais, state your name and address for the record. You have 3 minutes.
Linda Thornton, 1188 Stony Creek Way. Good afternoon, Chairman Jones and council members. I'm honored to speak to you as president of the board of directors of the Oasis Center for Women and Girls. I'm here in strong support of our renewal applications for 2 vital programs that the CSC supports. The After Hours Counselor Program under Family Strengthening and Girls Circle Program under Youth Mentoring. Our board is very proud of our partnership with CSC, and we're equally proud of the team at Oasis who have worked so hard to make these programs a success. Today, I respectfully ask you to continue supporting these programs with the 10% if possible, so that we can serve more people and that we can continue to change lives in our community. The after-hours counseling program is on track to exceed our contracted enrollment and outcome goals. It meets a critical need, providing accessible, affordable mental health counseling to women raising children alone. Many of these women can't access traditional therapy because of work hours, childcare, or transportation. Our program makes this support accessible when and how they need it most. The Girls Circle program also is on track to surpass our enrollment goals, and it's improving girls' emotional and mental wellness. Using a research-based curriculum, it helps girls build healthy coping strategies, strengthen relationships, and thrive at home and in school. And we're proud that our programs are in our schools currently, and we'd like to expand them as well. Thanks to your investment, as of June 30th, we've served 198 women raising children on their own, 100 of their children, and 233 girls through these two programs. We're excited for the opportunity to continue this important work and for the future of our partnership with CSC. On behalf of our board, staff, and the families we serve, we thank you for your trust and your support.
Next, we have Ms.
Thank you,
Nella.
ma'am.
Nella. Bela, thank you. Come to the dais, state your name and address for the record. You'll have 3 minutes.
Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Melia Bebe, and I serve as the Development Director here at PACE Leon, PACE Center for Girls here in Leon County. I'm here to provide public comments in support of the PACE Center for Girls Leon, specifically the REACH program, on behalf of Dr. Haywood, who is out of town presenting at a conference and unfortunately cannot be here. While we acknowledge that the program experienced significant staffing shortages during fall 2023, spring 2024, and summer 2024, which are accurately reflected in our quarterly and monthly reporting, I want to highlight the extraordinary turnaround that has taken place under new leadership. Since the onboarding of Dr. Tanyel Haywood in May 2024, the REACH program has undergone a remarkable transformation. In just 1 year, from May 2024 to May 2025, Dr. Haywood's leadership has revitalized the program's operations and impact. Each week, we serve approximately 41 girls through REACH, providing 60-minute therapeutic sessions that support emotional healing, skill development, family strengthening, building skills, and long-term stability. This consistent engagement not only highlights the high demand for mental health services in our area, but also underscores the undeniable impact this program is having on our girls and their families throughout Leon County. As of December 2024, our records showed a participant count of 9, with a cost per participant of approximately $6,000. However, I am pleased to share that under Dr. Haywood's guidance, as of May 2025, we now serve 42 active REACH participants and their families, and the cost per participant has been cut in half, placing us on track to meet our full annual target by September 2025. While the data being reported today reflects a challenging time for our program, it does not capture the progress and promise of what has taken place in recent months. Dr. Haywood's leadership has brought stability, vision, and strategic execution, putting us in a strong position to continue delivering high-quality mental health services to girls across Leon County. PACE Center for Girls is committed to excellence, and with the REACH program now stabilized, we are proud to move forward, setting a new standard in service delivery and outreach. Thank you for your time and continued support.
Thank you. Next, please.
Dee Fontaine. Say your name and address.
Hello, everyone. My name is Dee Fontaine, 1510 Wanish Way. Let's talk about growth. My name is Dee Fontaine, and I'm the lead wellness navigator for the Wellness Navigator program at SG Mental Health, in support of SG Mental Health for the Renewal Grant for Family Strengthening. We, as someone who sees all the data firsthand, I can confidently say we're not just growing, we're thriving. We've seen an exceptional increase in the number of participants in our program, a steady flow of signed consent forms, and a powerful wave of positive feedback from the youth. But beyond the numbers, it's the moments that truly show our impact. The kids don't only recognize us, they run to us. They call us by name, they smile, they engage, and that's what makes it hit home. It warms our hearts and reminds us exactly why we do this work. Look at us now, because this moment is what matters. Look at where we are. Look at where we were. The impact is real. And none of this would be possible without the tireless work behind the scenes. Ms. Marissa worked so hard to make sure everything is in place, from organizing documents to ensuring each participant's social, emotional learning needs are met throughout their time in the program. Her dedication keeps the entire system running smoothly and ensures that our kids are receiving consistent quality and support every step of the way. At SG Mental Health Counseling, we're not just showing up. We're showing up with love, consistency, and purpose. We're building relationships, breaking down stigmas, and creating safe spaces for young people to grow mentally, emotionally, and socially. We are one of the top of what we do, and it's working for our community. This is more than a job. This is a mission. And as long as these kids keep running towards us, we'll keep running towards the work. Because their growth is our growth, and together we're making something beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Annalee Nystrom from Legal Services of North Florida, and acting supervisor. Annalee Nystrom, I am an attorney with Legal Services of North Florida. My address is 2355 Centerville Road, Tallahassee, Florida 32308. I was specifically hired by Legal Services to work the CSC grant. I was hired in December. The grant was fully executed on February 7th of 2024. And we're very grateful for the recommendation to renew our funding to allow us to continue to grow the impact of our work for children in Leon County. We're also grateful to the CSC for working with us to create a workflow that makes sense for someone seeking legal help while still getting sufficient information to show the short and long-term impacts. Since February of last year, we have provided legal assistance to more than 100 families, consisting of 341 children ages 0 to 7, of which 49 were ages 0 to 3. The majority of our clients are single moms, and they have had between 1 and 9 children in their household. Having been an investment partner with CSC for approximately 15 months as of July, we are already able to begin to calculate the return on investment. The financial benefits for our clients for last quarter were over $67,000, realized for debt reduction, eviction defense, and Social Security benefits. The quarter before that was the busiest quarter we have had, with more clients than we had in the prior quarter, and the client financial benefits were over $120,000 for that quarter. We have also been successful in assisting our clients to retain their Section 8 housing vouchers by providing legal assistance to ensure that our clients don't get an official eviction on the record. If a client receives the subsidy to pay their rent, they may lose that subsidy if they are evicted. We prevented evictions for more than 17 clients with Section 8 benefits, and that the saving on a yearly basis for those 17 clients would have amounted to $220,000, which would have been lost had they lost their vouchers. And studies have shown that for every dollar invested in legal aid, the economic return on investment is more than $7. This does not include the social return on the investment, such as keeping kids in the same school or helping parents continue to live close to their work, which is freeing up more time for them to parent their children. In the cases we've closed so far, outcomes include preventing eviction, securing disability benefits, access to healthcare and food stamps, addressing code violations in rental properties, and reducing debt to help families pay their bills. We are also starting to have partnerships with other CSC investment partners like Oasis, where we just recently decided to extra 3 minutes. Thank you.
Michelle?
I'm sorry, I was almost done. We have the two partnerships that we have going right now is with Oasis, which we just started, and with Kids Incorporated, where we do a legal clinic every month at the daycare center.
Thank you so very much.
Thank you.
Next speaker?
Dr. Samuel Carter. State your name and address for the record. You'll have 3 minutes.
Dr. Samuel Carter, 1349 East Lafayette Street here in Tallahassee. And I just want to first off start out by saying thanks to the council for providing us with the resources to do what we've been doing. We contracted out for 50 men in our community, and as we know, iron sharpens iron. So we're out here trying to really work with a very tough population to get to actually come to class and do some things. So we have some captive audience type facilities that we go into. We go into re-entry, we go into the jail, and we also go into a few DOC populated places. But our community program is for our dads that are in the community. We've served now as an enrolled group 98, but we also have contracted out 50. We have 50 men that have actually completed the program with 5 dads that would be finishing up within the next week or so. By Tuesday of next week. So I mean, we're ahead of ourselves as far as our contract is concerned, and we're just glad that we're able to continue to work with the program and to actually be able to be considered to receive additional funding for another year to continue what we're doing is an awesome opportunity for our program to continue. And I just would like to say that the additional funds, if available, would actually help us with some more of our wraparound services that we provide to our dads. Which is a tough thing because it costs a lot for some men to actually participate in some things with their kids. So we do a lot of great things in the community to actually involve our dads. So we do bonding visits with our dads, with their kids, and we take them out. We also do bonding activities with the dad and their wife so that they can get better and get a stronger relationship to help run the house. And then we do family activities where we invite everyone. But we're working with our men, and we're trying our best to help guys in our community to be better dads and to be the strongholds of the neighborhoods that are tough in our neighborhoods and tough places in our neighborhoods that are rough, in our neighborhoods that are low income, in our neighborhoods that are very, very vulnerable for our kids that don't have stable, fatherhood programming to actually get some good men back in our community and in our houses. So we're grateful for what's happening. And we thank you all for what you're doing in the community that, you've been talking a lot about children, but we work with the men and we work with dads, and we're trying to help guys be better men, be better providers, be better husbands, be better brothers, be better uncles. And by doing that, we really believe that we're going to change the knob in our community. And we started here in Tallahassee with this program, and we are now getting people calling us from all over asking, can we either consult, can we help them start programs? And it's awesome to be a part of a program. I am the executive director, but without my guys like Wallace and Mr. Fred Rouse, who was one of our dads in our corrections program, and he now has his MSW. And he's our lead case manager. So we're working with our men and we're trying to do our best. Thank you, guys.
That's all the public.
Any last public comment? All right, we are back with a motion on the floor. Mr. Mitchell?
I have what I hope is a friendly amendment, and that is, it's actually option 2, which is to take the programs in green, to take the first 4 programs, 87, 78, 89, and 86, continue to fund them at their current level, plus 10% with, and note this, the 4 of you, if you get this, I'll be a part of the 4 of you, I will make sure that 10% purpose to 10% more participation, and I get to Ms. Green's point, it could have something to do with administrative funds, but gosh, we need you. And if we're going to give you 10%, I beg of you, please put it towards the individuals you're serving. And so that's my friendly.
By all means. concern is that I would rather you would cite the change, which is to add the 10%. Your amendment would be to add the 10%, not to supplant it with an already existing option,
Absolutely.
right?
Although that 10% is option 2. But yes, sir,
Yeah.
for an amendment.
Otherwise,
to our-
We would accept the amendment if you said
Thank
10%.
you.
All right?
Yeah, Mr. Chair. And I use the opposite.
The type one is giving money away. Just once.
All right, so our motion is that we would accept, we would vote on, yeah, go sorry, Mr. Superintendent.
That's all right, y'all can go ahead and talk through it. I have a question. Estimated cost per participant based on analysis. Do we have that information? Where is it? Who does the analysis and where do you say how many people are participating? Where do you come up with these numbers?
So I'm gonna let Ms. Snyder say that, but of course, we have the information. We take all of the information that they input in the reports, all of their financials, do the extrapolation, and this is the actual cost per participant divided up of participants they had, or juxtaposed to the amount of money that they put down.
By way of what number they fill in that box? That's how that's determined, so I can write 150 or.
No, we have client names for each person that they serve. There's information that they have to put into Samus for each person that they serve.
Now we need to expand it, know how our children be served by the program.
Okay, so who does the analysis?
Our team does it now.
I'd like this to be. I'm involved. Kind of.
Any additional discussion? Yes, ma'am.
If it's not included in the motion, does our team still work directly with the groups that we're funding to get these yellows and reds to greens? Are we doing
We're
that?
not renewing.
No, they won't renew.
No. I'm talking about the ones we are renewing, the individual
yeah.
items. Our team is still like.
Yes, that's a part of the performance partner role.
I'm just making sure.
Yes.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
This is not like sitting up as you mental health, just asking in general. So like, one of the notes is financial accountability. I read this bracket awarded $249,000, right? So we have a mechanism. It's like something we would request funding back. That how that works.
No, they've gotten so for the financials that they submitted, they were approved for those financials, but if you really had, this is basically the best bang for the buck, were they on time? So when you look at on track to meet process measures, for example, SU mental health, there were a lot of their participants, we didn't give parent consent. So if you don't get parent consent, they might as well not be a participant. Parent has to consent that they participate in the program. So you can be serving them, but if we don't have that in our system, in Salmon, that child does not count. And so we only counted children against the financials that they expended. And so as long as those financials were within the budget line of the approved budget, and they had the receipts to show the expense was valid, then they could.
Superintendent Hannah's request on the analysis, I mean, like, so replacing the girl 6,000 we have here, but they must report that they reduced that number.
But this is through December 22. I'm sorry, of 20, what's the last year? 24. What I will say is, and I'm not blowing smoke, our performance partner team, led by Ms. Snyder, is an awesome team. And so this is not inflated, it's not deflated, it's not contorted, it's not contrived, it's not fudging the numbers, it's not using a formula with one and not using it for the other. This is true data.
Now, we want to take this, already got the 50 amendment. Got a second. Now we're ready to vote. I see your car,
Oh, no, that's because I didn't put it there.
Oh, okay.
That's-
Now, I have to offer this for my colleagues. And I want to hear from our director. I make no apologies for having been a former member of the Penn Center for Girls Board. And they, as they say at Pace, once a Pace girl or boy, always a Pace girl. And I could not help but hear the commentary provided by Ms. Nivet regarding what has been the progress. I'm also very much aware of their director, Dr. Haywood, who's a former assistant principal in our school district. With what they have described, is that an accurate description of what has been the turnaround in terms of reporting and services? Is that accurate?
Yes, sir, it is.
Beyond what we see reflected in the numbers that they've reported here just recently, right? But what she has described in terms of their accountability, so if we were to look at this 6 months from now, these yellows and those that no longer exist, would that be accurate? So she has been forthright in her description of this being a brand new renaissance for Pace, right?
That is correct. By the time that Dr. Haywood came, it was approximately 6 months left during the period in which we were aggregating the data. And therefore it fell at the point in which you see with not as many participants being served. Since then, it is correct what she stated.
Okay, not to belabor the point, but I'm reminded of Reverend Derek McGee. You cannot see what you have seen, you cannot know what you know. And based upon what she has described, I would like to offer a friendly amendment for your consideration, that we would also add Pace. And based upon what the staff has said and what she has communicated with the new leader, Dr. Haywood, that the problems that have been lingering in the organization before will not persist. And the staff has seen that same, has also agreed that turnaround has occurred. Or if not, if you'd like to deal with, I can come back with it separately.
Well, I recognize that, Mr. Chair, and if you remember my comments before I even made my motion was, we have had, services, contracts with a Pace, before. They've done,
It only had one.
only had one.
It only
Yes,
has one,
sir.
and that was with the floods, if I may. That was with the flood. No, I'm not, I'm being honest.
Okay, and that was,
There were problems.
there were problems faced at that particular time. My only concern is we've got two underperforming entities here. Look at the estimated cost per participant base was $1,000, and I understand that why. Then we've got this other community development program. Where their cost for participant was almost 50% less, so. I don't have a problem, Mr. Chair, in extending the olive branch, but since we have this one other participant, perhaps maybe we could consider. We're gonna do that, maybe consider that entity as well. And I'm not sure if there's any anecdotal or anything that staff or our executive director could add to that discussion. So just in the discussion phase, I'm saying if we're gonna extend the olive branch to Pace, their cost for participant is higher than the program. And if you look at SG numbers, health, community wellness, their cost for participant is almost 50% now. 35% less. I guess that, you know, saying we're gonna extend the hours, perhaps consider that. Well,
Well, it is my own having heard what she described, has been the new protocols that have been put in place. And those new protocols haven't then been verified by our own staff in terms of management and reporting. That is why I wanted to extend that to PACE. I am also very much aware, as an expulsion hearing officer for our school district, the girls are oftentimes referred to PACE. And so PACE being fully optimized so that our young people, those young ladies, ultimately earn their diplomas is critical for our community and for our district. And oftentimes girls go to that program, they will spend a year there and then they'll return to our school. So I know the role that it plays in the continuing maturation of young people, young girls specifically. And were it not for, I would have shared that with you, that we would just do the green. Were it not for her testimony and Ms. Snyder's confirmation. So that's the only reason why I bring that. That's why I would want us to consider that. Ms. Richards?
Sir Brian is up first.
Ms. Richards, I've called you.
I'll defer to Sir Brian.
We rely upon staff, I mean, it's a difficult job. Giving money away is a very difficult thing, because everybody needs it, everybody wants it. I think we go through a process where we evaluate, we have a very good staff here, I think they are equitable. I think they do look across and try to be fair. And I don't dispute that PACE is a worthy program. And I don't disagree that they've made improvements. But I think they've gone through a period where they didn't live up to the agreements that and expectations that we had. I think based upon their improvements, they have an opportunity to reapply at a future date after they show that they can maintain those improvements for a longer period of time. As I understand it, these improvements are still relatively recent in terms of programmatic life. And I would like to see them demonstrate the ability to not only to keep those performance measures up before we reconsider them again. So my belief is that we should go back to the original basically recommendation that we have up for a vote, and then we would vote on that.
All right, I agree. We will now deal with the motion with the friendly amendment. Well, I'm taking it off the table, so if it's about PACE, we're gonna move back
I
to the
think the
friendly.
question was answered. I just was gonna ask, can these programs reapply?
If this council chooses to do open procurement.
Okay, that was just my question.
All right. Back to the motion with the friendly amendment that we would fund the green programs with the 10% increase. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No. All right, ayes have it. We're now back to our agenda. Rebound and recovery.
Council, if you recall, last month, we brought you Rebound and Recovery for renewal for the next fiscal year only. I believe that one of the council members asked for a breakdown of the actual budget request. And so if you turn to page 33, there is the breakdown of the budget request. And it also has the investments by their two partners, Florida State and Leon County Schools. The amount has not changed. So that is really the presentation because they presented this last time.
Yes.
That is the
renewal. All right, any comments, Mr. Superintendent?
So can you remind us, Ms. Green, what this council invested in this program for year 1 and 2?
For years 1 and 2, I believe year 1, it was 445,000. Plus bridge funding of 92,000. That was year 1. Year 2, it was 650 because this year 3 is level funding. With the addition of the income.
And we first had the discussion with this group, it was gonna, at some point, phase out, like we're training the trainer, then we kind of take it from there. It's the third year, how many years did it take for us to?
That would be a question you would want to ask them. I think
I think didn't put there also is 1 year 5 on.
there was a year 4 and year 5, but my recommendation was to only look at year 3.
Yes, sir. Mr. Bishop.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So, Sika, when you say only to look at year 3, sort of, I equate this a little bit to what Leon County School District is going through with the United States Department of Education, and that is you don't pull the rug out from underneath somebody right before the funding ends. So if we're saying we're only looking at year 3 because it is year 3, but we'll look at year 4 and year 5. If that's the recommendation, that's different than you're recommending that we fund through year 3. And now would be a good time to tell them that, hey, this is your last year, so don't go doing anything crazy. So what I just want to make sure it's sort of like that freeze versus pause word. What does that mean?
So for me, the reason why I had asked not to look at years 4 and 5 is because I did not feel like there was enough of a reduction of the investment. What I did feel confident is that at year 3, they would be able to live up to what they have requested. We asked for at least level funding and for more in kind or cash from other investors. This is a model that should sunset. And from their original proposal, they were looking to sunset after year 5. I did not feel comfortable that the ask for year 4 and year 5 was low. I'm just gonna be honest, was low enough. I thought it was really high because it was still over $500,000. Yeah. So that is why it was my recommendation that we just look at year 3. And this council may decide if year 3 would be the last year, which means they would go through and redo this proposal to include a sunset.
And
Yes, sir.
Superintendent, you and our finance committee team, we're going to check with some of the teachers who are being trained and are seeing, some of the results for you. I know you've got a little on your plate, so, okay.
No, I wasn't able to do that. I was hoping to do it during pre-planning week.
Right.
Which would then delay till to come back on July 31st. But given everything else that's been going on, I just haven't had.
Mr. Chair, just for clarification, I just want to make sure. Madam Executive Director, we've already voted on this at previous meeting, right? This is just additional, or this is for 25, 26 that's before us today.
This is for 25.
26 that's before us today.
Yes.
Now, if I may, I think to Ms. Green's point, now is not the right time to pull the rug on the program. I would recommend that we fund it, and then decide 3 years instead of 5 years, sooner rather than later, to let them know what our intentions are. But I don't think now is the right time to do that. And by that time, I will have more information.
The other comments?
But we're not, is this the only one in this category? Rebound and recovery?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is separate.
Readiness, but we brought it back.
Separate, right, but this is a separate
line.
We vote on just this one. So we have a motion from the superintendent.
We don't have.
I have a motion here.
So, yeah, I move that we fund year 3, rebound and recovery.
We're probably moving to say any discussion or public comment.
Yes.
All right, public comment.
Ms. Erin Casey, please come to the dais, state your name and address for the record, you'll have 3 minutes.
Erin Casey, I'm at 2248 Pine Landing Court. I'm really excited to share a little bit about the Rebound and Recovery Program. It's an initiative that made a really big difference in my work, both as a teacher and now as preschool director in a private school. This program gives educators and other professionals the tools to better understand what children are feeling, how those emotions shape their behavior, thinking, and ability to learn. It provides strong foundation in trauma-informed care and cognitive behavioral strategies, so teachers create classrooms that feel safe, supportive, and responsive to kids' emotional needs. When I was a pre-K teacher in the Leon County school system, I was fortunate to have the Rebound and Recovery curriculum in my classroom. As an early childhood educator, I've always believed that social emotional learning is the heart of everything. Before kids can focus on letters and numbers, they need to feel secure. They need to know how to express themselves, handle big feelings, and build healthy relationships. When I moved to private education, I had to leave Rebound and Recovery curriculum behind, even though I took so many of its ideas and strategies with me. That's why I'm so thrilled to be reconnecting with the program this year as a director. This year, our preschool is rolling out a full curriculum. Okay, we'll have access to master's level students who work directly with our teachers each week to support them as they bring this work into our classrooms. The expansion of this program into a larger population of private preschools could not happen without funding. This kind of high quality mental health focused support comes with real costs, training, resources, time, and expert partnerships. Often access to programs like this depend on whether a school can afford it or whether it is part of the public system that has other certain supports built in. But thanks to focused investment in early childhood mental health, it's starting to shift. With the help of targeted funding, Rebound and Recovery is now expanding into private community-based preschools. That means more kids are getting the same chances to build emotional skills early. The funding is helping level the playing field. It's giving smaller schools like ours the opportunity to implement a powerful research-backed program that might have been out of reach otherwise. It's giving our teachers the support and training they need. And most importantly, it's giving our kids access to the emotional tools they need for school and life. We're so excited about the new family communication piece that is being added to the program. Connecting what we're doing in the classroom with what's happening at home is huge. When families are part of the conversation, we can work together to help kids grow emotionally, socially, and in every part of their lives. So the program isn't just about helping kids handle tough moments. It's about setting them up for a lifetime of resilience, connection, and confidence. So today, I just wanted to say thank you to those who created the program, to those who are funding it, and to all of you and believe in giving children a strong, supportive start that they deserve. Thank you.
Next, we have Ms. Reagan Hamilton. Reagan Hamilton, 3550 Esplanade Way, Tallahassee, Florida, 32311. Good evening, everyone. My name is Reagan Hamilton, and I'm the program manager for Rebound and Recovery, a cognitive behavioral resiliency program being used across Leon County's educational landscape, thanks to the generous support of the Children's Service Council. And I'm here today to share a glimpse into what truly makes my work meaningful. For the past 2 years, working with the dedicated teachers of Leon County has been, without a doubt, one of the most impactful parts of my job. From our initial meetings where we partner on an implementation technique that best fits theirs and their students' needs, to the regular office hours, to my in-person classroom visits, I've had the privilege of witnessing incredible transformations. I've seen these educators move from being new to our curriculum and sometimes a bit uncertain to gradually becoming confident and self-implementing experts. Seeing them thrive this year, making the curriculum their own, and even offering advice to new teachers is truly rewarding. Attending the quarterly meetings offers us the opportunity to touch base in person and continue to be seen as a consistent support. The times when we'd address their questions have become less about troubleshooting and more about celebrating their successes and innovations. It's a unique struggle at times, though, to see them need our direct support less and less, but that feeling is quickly overshown by the immense satisfaction of watching them flourish and knowing that there are more new teachers that will need that same exact support. They're not just using the curriculum, they're making their own adjustments, adapting to their unique classroom needs, using the resource website, sharing techniques with their caregivers, and building a toolkit that skills that create a stable, supportive setting for every child.
We've even been able to extend our support to offering one-on-one sessions in classrooms for students who just need that extra boost. And I've had the pleasure of leading trainings for behavioral specialists and staff in the Second Chance program. Before joining Rebound and Recovery, I worked as a school social worker in a rural community not too far from here. And a significant part of that role was not just providing direct services to kids, but also equipping teachers with tangible techniques and building their confidence in managing complex classroom dynamics. That experience and seeing that very present need for both additional staff and resources surrounding resilience and mental health alike truly allows me to see the real impact we're having on these teachers and these kids without the barrier of funding or additional staff. So to each of you on the funding board, thank you. Thank you for allowing me to continue to play a vital part in their support system for the educators who are shaping our next generation. When we began as an add-in curriculum, has truly begun an integral part of their classroom culture, and that will stay with these children far longer than we or even their teachers will.
Thank you so very much. We appreciate it. Next. How many more speakers do we have?
3 more.
If the other speakers are agreed, they can waive their time, but if not, we will hear from them.
Okay, Dasani Matera. Right. Just telling you to not go to the rest of you. Hopefully support, okay?
Sure.
Yes.
Yes, all right.
Ms. Gilchrist.
My name is Nathan Gilchrist, 5404 Calder Drive, house 432317. I'm a teacher currently. My classroom consists of typically developing students and students with disabilities with all unique needs. For the past 2 years, I've had the privilege of using Rebound and Recovery in Leon County schools. And as part of our social emotional learning. And today I want to share the impact it's made. Many of my students come to school with very little understanding of emotions. They might know happy, sad, or maybe angry, but that often ends right there. But Rebound and Recovery introduced new feelings like scared, like I am now, worried, peaceful, and calm. I'll be calm when I leave. And the beauty is we don't just talk about these emotions, we actually practice them, recognizing them, and regulating them. One of my favorite moments in a chaotic day is the time I can say, can someone show me what calm looks like? And immediately, without missing a beat, my students sit up real tall, cross their legs, close their eyes, and begin to breathe. Slowly smelling the hot cocoa and cooling it down. We repeat it together several times. And then Ms. Gilchrist says, okay, I need to smell the hot cocoa and blow it out. And you can check on me in 10 minutes. But this isn't just a cute little thing we do. It's powerful because in those moments, every child is learning to self-regulate, to pause, to breathe, and to recognize what their body and brain need. Even the adults have caught on. I never forget when my principal walked into my room and saw me practicing this, repracticing this with some of my students. Later, she told me she started using it herself. And she had her long principal meetings and even during Zoom calls with Mr. Hanna. Instead of using other words, she decided to breathe. She decided to breathe and smell passive. Rebound and Recovery. It goes beyond the curriculum. It often offers teacher support. I lean on them to help me with my nonverbal students, to help facilitate explaining their emotions to them. I also use it with children who have maybe experienced some challenges due to home changes. And all of a sudden are showing these differences in the classroom. And even to rescue a lesson when things didn't go quite planned with a room full of 3, 4, and 5-year-olds. They're there to help recover as well. This program doesn't just help students rebound, it helps them grow, connect, and thrive. And honestly, it helps educators too.
And Matt, we have Farming Connors.
She knows.
Yes, she is.
I am Carmen Connor, I'm the principal of Pineville Elementary, and I want to share a short story about how Rebound and Recovery has changed our school in a positive way.
We have a second chance program at our school for all students that are expelled from a Leon County elementary school. They can come to our school, and we have our pre-K program. And we started Rebound and Recovery with our pre-K students. And what we learned is that kids are not being taught how to feel and how to share their emotions. In this one instance within our second chance program, we have this student, he's very much the hard kid of the group. And this one particular day, he loses it. He's throwing chairs everywhere, and he's upset, and he's crying, and there's snot everywhere. And so when he calms down, I hand him a tissue and takes the tissue and he puts it over his face and kind of wipes it away. But he's still like congested in this moment. So I get another set of tissue and I give it to him. And I said, this time I want you to take your finger, hold it down and blow. Now he's a 12-year-old at this point, and he blows and he looks at me because it works. And he's like, oh, it worked. And we both laughed because that was the first time as a 12-year-old that someone taught him how to blow his nose. My point is, children in schools like mine, they are in environments where they're not taught to deal with their emotions. And Rebound and Recovery is that mechanism for our school. And we're starting it with our pre-K students, and we're trying to expand and grow. This year, they're coming to our school to expand it to the hot cocoa. We're doing that school-wide this year. And it is to help our students like that one I described. We have many of them. And this is the key to help our kids learn their emotions, but also to deal with their emotions so that we can be a harmonious school and so that we can learn and grow together when there's peace. And they've learned how to get that inner peace with these skills. So I'm here to share that, and thank you so much.
Welcome back.
May I also add Ms. Carmen Carter, principal of Pineville Elementary School, is a inaugural member of the Children's Services Council Board. All right, thank you. Yes, sir.
Could I just ask one clarifying question to staff? Do we know if our partners in this program have committed their funding?
Yes, according to the
Page 33.
yes, according to the Rebound and Recovery team, that has been committed, so those are in-kind services.
Right.
The FSU and the Leon County Schools tax in kind. Yes, but it is a commitment.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Any additional discussion or question?
I appreciate your comments. Principal Connor, Assistant First. He has no vote. Much respect for her and her involvement in her community, in her school, invested. St. Paul, I know they're adopted as well, thank you, but definitely helps to drive it home, the importance of this program. So I appreciate Ms. O'Connor for coming tonight and sharing that perspective.
I also add all of our speakers on this issue. It says a great deal about rebound recovery while people are on vacation or not in school. On enough to come and spend time with us and to provide this public testimony in this moment. It says a great deal about what they believe is the efficacy of the program, actually, for all of them, to include our principals present. We appreciate all the comments of the Rebound and Recovery. Are there any additional comments from board members to vote, accept the motion for?
We got the motion and second.
We got a motion and a second. All right, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, thank you. Next. Move now
To the presentation from the district.
okay. So oh, all right. Because of the proposal coming from our Leon County School District, as the school board member who enjoys the enviable distinction of being the only school board member whose entire district, all of my schools are Title I schools. And all of my elementary and middle schools are served by this program. I will recuse myself and turn over the chairmanship To our vice chair, Terrence.
Okay, Chair Jones. So next on the agenda, we will have our presentation from Young County Schools around the Century After School Program.
So at this time, Chair, I'd like to invite Brooke Bruner, our Director of Early Learning, along with the Director of the Boys and Girls Club, Mr. Casey Dennis, to come to the podium to make the presentation to you all about the system. Mr. Dennis.
Good afternoon, council members. I am Brooke Bruner. Oftentimes I come to you as the Director of Early Learning. For the purposes of today, I am the Director of our after-school programs for Leon County Schools. My superintendent trusts me, and so I wear several hats in the district, and this is one. So this afternoon, in partnership with the Boys and Girls Club at the Big Bend and Mr. Dennis, we are bringing to you a proposal that is going to provide our community an opportunity to stand in a gap for after-school care for children in all of our Title I schools, for elementary and for middle school. This particular program will serve over 1,700 students. And so with that, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Dennis, who will provide the details of the proposal and what we're asking of the Children's Services Council.
Good afternoon, guys. Thank you so much for this opportunity to speak on behalf of the Boys and Girls Club of the Big Bend. Guys, this isn't about programs, it's about people, and it's about our kids. Right now, as Brooke mentioned, over 1,700 students from Title I schools across Leon County count on Leon County schools every day, not just for after-school care, but for a safe, structured, positive, enriching environment each and every day, where they learn to grow, feel safe, and be seen. But due to the state level funding uncertainties, that access is in immediate jeopardy. And the families who stand to lose the most are the ones who are going to carry the greatest burden academically and economically. So at the Boys and Girls Club of the Big Bend, we're not just filling time, we're filling futures with hope and direction and opportunities. Our model is strong, it's tested, it works. We bring decades of experience in youth development, strong fiscal management, deep trusted partnerships with Leon County schools. And that partnership allows us to align perfectly with the school day academics, delivering daily instruction in literacy, math, STEM, led by certified teachers and trained youth development professionals. Today, we're requesting $2.1 million in funding to fill this gap that we've been speaking about today. Every dollar of this $2.1 million has already been committed and is ready for immediate implementation. So here's what that investment will support. Programs across 15 school sites, 11 elementary, 3 middle, and 1 K-8. Over 1,700 students will be served in grades K-8. 1.6 million for staffing and administration, 446,000 for enrichment activities. And in-kind, what I really want to highlight here is the in-kind contribution from Leon County Schools will total about $3.8 million in in-kind services for this project. Our staffing model blends the strength of both the Boys and Girls Clubs and the school district, creating a seamless collaboration, our effort rooted in structure, alignment, and in impact. This is about more than numbers, as we all know. This is about our community. This is about the stability for our working parents. This is about keeping our children safe and engaged and inspired, especially when school time and school lets out. Every child deserves a place to be supported, seen, safe, and not just during the school day, but also after the bell rings. So we've never waited for miracles at the Boys and Girls Clubs of the Big Bend. We've always been the ones to show up and make them happen. So that's why I'm here today with this partnership with Leon County Schools. I just want to say, let's keep these doors open, let's keep our hearts full, and let's keep our futures bright. for the kids we serve. Thank you. Next up, we have some.
So at this time, I have a number of principals in our schools, our Title I schools that are here. So if you would, please come to the podium. I'm gonna ask, Carl, they're not all gonna speak, but they're all here to support. I'm gonna ask Ms. Connor to say a few words from the elementary's perspective, and then Mandy Mayer, the principal at Fairview Middle School, to say a few words about the importance of the program at her school, also on the south side of town.
This is just a moment for me because being an inaugural member, this council has become everything that we designed it to be. And now I stand on the other side, appealing to your hearts. Because I want to speak to you as a Title I school principal from the perspective of 24% of our kindergartners that entered school last year were prepared to be there. That means 76% of them were not. And the lift of that is very heavy. And what I mean by that is in order to bridge the gap of that learning that has not occurred, is if you think of a 5 or a 6-year-old that starts in kindergarten, academically, if they've never gone to school, they're starting as if they're a 2-year-old. So that's 3 years that we have to make up. In that 3 years, it takes time. It takes extra time beyond our school day. And when we have after school for 3 hours a day, that is a moment to capture more learning, to capture enrichment, and to provide opportunities for our children that they otherwise would not have. Moreover, we use that time from 21st Century Dollars to have Saturday school. For 4 years consecutively, we held Saturday school from January to April to give our kids the extra time that they need. In our case at Pineview Elementary School, our school grade when we started was an F. And over time, we have gone from a C. From that C, we've gone to a B, we've gone to an A in that time span because we had the support of after-school funding. When our school grade became a B, we were not entitled to 21st Century Dollars. And I went to our school board and our superintendent to help us because this was a critical piece for our school in order for us to sustain where we are. So I'm appealing to your hearts. And I implore that we $2.1 million is what we need to continue the growth that we all have sustained over time. This is a key point because of how I started off with 24% of our kids coming to our school prepared. That group that's not, it takes the extra time, and this effort will support that time. Thank you.
My name is Mandy Mayer. Once they leave Carmen and once they leave the elementary schools, they come to the middle schools, and we all share our students. Our students go back and forth all year long amongst all of us. This program allows our students to have stability, not just for food, but for mental health services, for community outreach programs, for investments that they wouldn't normally have an opportunity to have without the additional time. We have communities, we have partnerships with our high schools as well. The high schools will come down and work with our middle school students. And then they in turn can use that as community service hours when they're applying for colleges. So all of these things are built upon each other. Teachers get to bond with students we don't normally interact with today. It's what the after school program gives to us is a whole different world for our students and for our teachers. Our teachers during the day, we have one role that we have to do. In the afternoons, it brings us to a whole different role. We get to have fun with our kids in the afternoons. It's amazing. Last week we had the blue tongue skink. Our students had never seen that before. And so that was the big thing. They all took pictures with it. They thought it was fantastic. And that was a community partner that had come in to show them these animals. After school programs close the gap with families. We see these families every single day. We have an opportunity to talk to them. They have programs that they work with in the after school as far as mental health services, home buying opportunities, home buying services for parents, and
additional community engagement. But without these programs, our students are at home with no adults, our students are at home with no supervision, and our students are at home without structure.
So council members, if you would, and Brooke, she spent, thank you. I really thank you. Countless hours putting this proposal together. If you go to the appendix, second page of the appendix, will show the funding and our commitment in County schools with all the facilities, utilities, gonna feed them dinner at night, do nutrition services. When I did the math of the out of school time, the programs that we funded previously, there were 452 students, and we funded at $1.7 million, around 3,800 per student. If you divided it by the 522 hours that these programs will work with these kids, it was around $7.38 per student per hour, right? This program is going to serve 1,700 kids for $2.1 million, total of $1,200 per student, and an hourly cost of $1.90. So for $1.90 as compared to what we funded in the past, over between $7 and $8, you're getting a lot of bang for our buck. And you're gonna save a lot of kids, because otherwise her husband is lieutenant or captain with the sheriff's department. You're gonna end up on the street, and then they're gonna end up with her husband. And they deserve better. They deserve our support. And I think this is exactly the reason that this council was set up, was to fill the gap and to meet a need. And this is filling a gap and meeting a need in our community for the children. Great job, guys. Thank you.
Right, does that conclude the presentation? So we will open it up for C.
I can go first, or Paul can go first.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. So
let me say, first of all, I think everyone here knows my greatest interest in the Children's Services Council is really focusing on early childhood brain development, 0 to 3, 0 to 5. Because that's the groundwork that has not been done historically in much of the population. And it puts our kids behind, and they oftentimes don't catch up. You know, our job should be to give every kid a fighting chance. That's what we should be doing. That being said, I think this is an extremely important program. It's not necessarily 0 to 3, 0 to 5. I think it has shown tremendous value. And I will support this program. I mean, I think I'm just going ahead just forecasting that. But I do think that as we think about our budgets, and I go back to what are our priorities, I think it's going to require us, as we shift $2.1 billion, assuming that the pause doesn't get unpaused. I do have a question about what happens if it does get unpaused. How does that change how we fund this? Because I think we need that answered. I think we're going to have to exercise some discipline around other programs. I think we're going to have to start thinking a little bit more thoughtfully about how we spend our dollars. Because we do a lot of programs here, a lot of programs. But if we're going to put $2.1 billion here, I think it's going to cause us to go back, reflect, exercise discipline, write our budgets, on our program evaluations. So I'm just putting that out there, that my interest is on supporting this, because I do think there's great value here. But I don't want this to cause us to drift away from what I think also is our core value, which is early childhood brain development. And it might have an impact on other programs.
Mr. O'Brien and Mr. Mitchell.
There's so many emotions that comes over me. The most important one deals with, this is the first meeting, 4.5 years that I've sat through, that the programmatic people were here to sort of tell the people who were asking for an increase in the millage rate or a reduction in the millage rate, what it is that's being done. And this is exactly the kind of program that should be funded. I do believe, if I were a gambling man, I would put a lot of money on the fact that this program will be unpaused by the federal government and that the money will come to the state in some way, shape, or form. That is based on all of the conversations I've had, members of Congress who have reached out directly to the White House and the United States Department of Education. I would have also bet on the fact that Florida State would have made the Final Four in football 2 years ago. Look at me, I would have lost. So I'm not a perfect bettor, but I genuinely believe that. The law, and this gets to Mr. O'Brien's comments, the law prohibits us from funding something that has funding somewhere else. So if we fund this program through Mr. Dennis and that mechanism, and suddenly the federal dollars are unpaused, we have to find a way, and I've talked to Mr. Rowe about this, to make sure that the CSC is reimbursed for the funds that we've expended. Again, we've got to follow the state law. You guys have to deal with the feds and the Florida Department of Education. But truly the most important thing is that I don't care really which side of the aisle, everyone understands the importance of this program, and it's just out of school. It's not just after, it's out of school. That is the program. If you look at the federal guidelines, that's what 21st century was meant to do, out of school, period. Ms. Connor, you know how I feel about you and the efforts that you've made. And Mr. Hanna is very quick to point out, there's other great principals, right? But none of you have sat on the council with me and have been my vice chair like Principal Connor has. It's remarkable what she and many of you in this room have done. I don't want to stop that. Here's the important thing, and I've shared this with Brooke. One, we just saved $238,000 off of our budget. So what you saw posted publicly, what we voted on through Commissioner Cummings' motion with friendly amendment that I made, saved $238,000. It's all about getting to 2.1 million in the event that this is never on pause and it goes away. It also gives the superintendent and the school district a year to get ready to find some funding, because to Mr. O'Brien's point, we can't keep funding this. That's not what the CSC is only set up to do. So we do have to find, another funding mechanism. This gets us through a crisis. If it remains a crisis through the next year, we're through it, and we can certainly work with the district and Mr. Dennis to make sure that these kids continue to get service. I think when I have a motion, but you know what? I would very much like to hear what you have to say, Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Mitchell. Councilmember Johnson, recognized.
Hey, so first I wanted to start off just quickly saying I'm in support of us moving into this. What my questions are around how we do it. Mr. O'Brien mentioned, I think it was that we need a mechanism contractually if we move forward to cover ourselves on the planning of funds so that we're not continuing to pay. I did miss a data point Because from the finance committee meeting forward, we were asking the general counsel about legality of how we could contract to do this. And I'm seeing some of the pieces and parts of what must be the answer. But I'd like if there's a short answer on what the legal issues were that we're addressing to have an intermediary in between us and the school board.
Yes, sir. So
Yes.
So there is, every expenditure of CSC funds is subject to the authorizations and limitations set forth in the CSC statute, which is section 1259. There is nothing in that statute that limits this or its ability to fund after school services. That can include facilities where the services are given, personnel and operating expenses, nutrition, therapy, programming activities, all. There are two sections of the statute, though, which may apply. You get into a particular scenario like this. One is the referenced non-substitution clause, which expresses the state legislature's intent that the monies paid by the CSC are solely for purposes of improving children's services and not to be used as a substitute for existing resources or resources which are otherwise previously described might. If a provider of services has relied historically from state or federal grant funding, that funding no longer available, then that funding is no longer an available resource. So there is no issue with the CSC stepping in and providing the lost revenues. Doesn't run up on the non-substitution funds. In this instance, if there is a possibility that the money would be restored at the federal level, then it makes sense to have some provision in the contract with the provider saying that to the extent those funds are restored, CSC will be reimbursed for the monies it's paid to provide the services. Two, it might be helpful in that agreement structure. So rather than the $2.1 billion being given up front, it's given tranches.
I understand that part.
So the other concern then is the prohibition of CSC allocating and funding agencies which are under the exclusive jurisdiction of the public school system. That's the way the statutory provision. You can allocate funds to agencies, provided that agency is not under the exclusive jurisdiction of the public school system.
That's explicit.
That's explicit. Now, what is not explicit is what an agency is. Many times the statute will define the terms that are used in the statute. There's no definition for agency. There's no definition for exclusive jurisdiction, nor is there a definition for public school system. Taken in their common meanings, an argument could be made that that section prohibits this board from awarding funds directly to the school district. As an argument can be made, the school district is an agency subject to the jurisdiction of the public school system, i.e. the State Department of Education. This is not that scenario, as I understand the presentation. Money would not be paid directly to the school district. It's being paid by a provider, boys and girls, which is not under the exclusive jurisdiction. And since aftercare, after school services are authorized for funding by CSC, that's that scenario.
Just a couple other points I'll tend to make quickly is where's the city and the county on this discussion? They involved at all?
We have any city, county, not really a funding mechanism for them to step in.
And then on a little bit of the how, what is our current budget year's undesignated funds that we have available in the 24-25? I know we've got catastrophe and reserve funds that I'm not aware that we have. Yeah.
15. I'm sorry, I was trying to get to this budget. Pay on 15. The current budget.
For this proposal.
Budget for this proposal.
So the budget for this proposal,
Is it
in their packet, they have
Says
broken down some, their numbers in there. Mr. Johnson was asking
About our budget.
about our budget.
I'm talking about the how now that our council might consider this, and I asked the question of how much undesignated funds, either in catastrophe or reserve, are in the current year that are undesignated, so that if we move to fund this at all, that we don't have to look at it from how we are attaching the fund 25-26 millage rates.
Right.
That there, what funds are available now so that we could look at funding sources or how we can answer.
I can kind of answer that question. Again, this was the conversation the finance committee had last week as to how much money is left. We know that
Can I make a suggestion? Would you mind holding on Mr. Mitchell answering that question? Let's get through the additional comments. I think this is part of the reason why maybe it might have been a little better to have the trim, but there is a response. I know he has a response. I watched the budget and finance committee. I think if we can get to the comments that he can probably articulate, where the money stands currently with our budget. Is there any impacts when we have to tap into the reserves? Will we have to increase, propose to increase the mileage, decrease it? What kind of impact that will have on what they're asking for 2.1 million? They do have but just a suggestion, but.
Well, I will just say I was being on that financial committee. I was part of that discussion. These firm number of untapped catastrophe and reserve funds in the current year was in the neighborhood of $800,000. So what I'm trying to understand is what could we use out of the current year, because it affects the way I think about what the millage rate needs to be for 25-26 if I'm paying some of that out of the current year. So I don't care where you fit that in.
Okay.
I'm willing to stop now, but I think it's relevant to get that known before we start having a discussion about the millage.
Can I give a short answer? Yes, please. We have enough money in our current budget, having nothing to do with the budget that we will approve, we will vote on in a moment, for fiscal year 25-26 to fund this. It would require the use of contingency funds that we have. It will also require, we can use some of that, and we have roughly $2 million that has no voted on purpose. A large portion of that comes from the expansion of family resource centers. All commitments that we have currently made, we have more than $2 million left, and that doesn't include the contingency fund. So we can pay for this project out of existing resources before we raise $1 in the new fiscal year.
With the knowledge that if the funds are released at the federal level, then
we'll get it all back. And I think there's likely to be a crisis every year, right? But there's none like this. But what I was asking about was a budget for, I'm really looking at, you know what I'm looking for, the administrative cost percentage that page. Again, it says page 13, but I don't have a page. I'll start at page 4, right?
Staff and administration is 1.6.
Well,
like that though. I mean,
The 2.1, yes, you break it up.
did you guys come up with a, yeah, I saw that too. Is there, Brooke, can I ask you, just because I know.
What you're looking at.
Running out of indirect costs, correct?
So I'm gonna, if I,
Yes, please. Go
so I'm gonna go back to what I said before. So we have already funded $2.5 million worth of summer and after-school programs for this year, correct?
Well, we have not approved it because we haven't voted on the budget yet. Which year are you talking? 25, 26, 24, 25?
Correct.
24, 25.
Yes.
Okay, we approved $2.5 million. It did not cut and that's where I was giving you the math on. And it came to about $7.38 per hour per child. This program is going to be $1.90 per hour per child. Trust me. And we're serving 1,700 kids as opposed to.
I don't think anybody's asking. I think we're just trying to figure out how to get.
No, I know,
Right.
I'm good.
Yeah, no one's arguing that. It's arguing.
No, I'm just talking about, there is no, as far as being fat, there is no fat. I can assure you that. And the other point that you made about, we can't continue to do this forever. We can, but if that other piece goes, if the 2.5 goes away, and we decide that money never comes back from the federal government, then we're getting more impact at $1.90 per hour per kid for 1,700 kids, as opposed to 2.5 million for.
Yes, sir. And then we find ourselves back here this time next year, having to grapple with a much more difficult decision. You're absolutely right.
But I think to Mr. O'Brien's point, something would have to go, and you'd have to set a priority. Because now we're really committing to spend 4.6 million in after school and in summer programs. When you add the two of them together.
Right now, we're just focused on right now. Just
Yeah.
focus on that.
Yeah, correct.
Councilmember.
I just have a couple of comments and a couple of questions. I want to say thank you to all the principals that came to speak. I recognize as the daughter of a principal who would have been here with you that your to-do list is unbelievably long. And the fact that you now have to worry about where your school babies are going to go after school is not something that should be on your plate. So I want to apologize that that is one of your concerns. And I just want to tell you, thank you for even taking the time to stand up here and be here. And I know you have more important things you could be doing. And then I also want to thank Ms. Bruner for putting this together. This is crazy. I know that you worked really hard on this and we appreciate it. A couple questions, and I don't know if Mr. Hannah wants to answer these or Casey or Brooke. If Boys and Girls Club is taking over the program, is 21st Century going away?
21st Century right now is on call.
Yes.
So the name 21st Century.
It's on. But if you take away the name and it becomes Boys and Girls Club and the funding becomes available, can the funding still be used for the after school program? For this?
If the funding comes back for 21st Century, can it be used for this?
Yes.
That's a great question. I'm not sure it can. Because there's a whole different set of parameters that are written into the 21st Century grants. Boys and Girls Club is not involved in our 21st Century programs. So I think that's a hill we'll have to climb. Yeah, if you want to give it, but that's fine. But it is going to be very different.
Yeah. So really quick, my team is also here, Sandra Huffman and Brittany Knox, and I just wanted to tell them thank you because they also contributed a lot to putting this proposal together. So to answer your question, the structure for 21st Century and that funding is governed by the parameters of that competitive grant. And so while some of the programming that we are proposing would transfer if the funds are returned to the school districts, not all of it would. The kids would not notice, but there would be a change in staffing.
So I'm assuming that your employees that are 21st Century will be hired on Boys and Girls Club?
Right, so indicated in the proposal, and to your point about the Children's Service Council not funding a program that is exclusively operated by the school district, what we're proposing is that the coordinator, project manager, and site managers be employees of the school district. And then the activity leaders, the employees of Boys and Girls Club.
Okay, and then. I think that's all my questions. I do want to also point out though that, for the board, and then we have a lot of public comment about, data and how you track data, and this program is using FAST, which is the state standardized testing method, which is set by the state. So I would like to point that out, that their evaluation method is data that their school uses, their principals, and they make academic decisions about. And so I really like that. That's all.
Brooke, can you stay there for a second? Okay, thank you for all the conversation. And I just want to confirm, would this be sole source if we went through this? That be the terminology to be, if we went through?
Boys and girls.
Right.
I
Okay.
think that's a question for the general.
Okay, so the 21st Century right now is a grant that you all have applied for, that you have to apply for. It's not automatic, right? You guys apply for that, and they do have that funding, and so you guys are funding your, those are Leon County positions funded through 21st Century Group. Okay, so that goes away, that's frozen, those potential holes. So this proposal right here would be to, quote unquote, us come up with an agreement to sole source Boys and Girls Club to provide the aftercare services, right?
That is correct.
But it could be an issue, right? If you say the program managers do this funding would be the Leon County, that we wouldn't be able to do that, right?
Yeah.
We would, okay.
Yeah, because it's just not exclusive. It can't be
Okay.
completely in county.
Okay, and right now, do you know how many in the aftercare program are being served?
1,700.
No, actually, correct. This plan provides an expansion. So when 21st Century grants were initially written, it only included grades 3 through 5. And we recognize that early childhood is just as important or more, so that the students can get those foundational skills. So in this plan, we have included our kindergartners, first and second graders.
Let's make sure I understood that. So it's actually 1,700 expanding to 2.1 and lowering the number. Okay.
That is correct.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that. And then this was for the Sika. Wait a minute, the Saturday, would this continue if this was funded, this could continue Saturday school?
Saturday school is actually funded by Title I funds outside of 21st Century. So that is not included in this proposal. This particular proposal includes for elementary students 3 hours for 175 school days, and then 5 hours during the summer.
The Saturday continues through the title,
Say that one more time.
but the Saturday school continues through the Title I.
Correct. If the school budgets that way, yes.
Okay, all right, perfect. Boys and Girls Club Ministry for Sika and team. We funded them before, I can't remember.
We're currently funding this for summer and for year-round after school.
Are there any issues with that? Doing another source to them as the provider?
I think that's a question for the general counsel, because we did the original out of school time was an RFP. They were one of the organizations that this council awarded year-round funding to. So they are currently in that summer phase, and then we'll move into the after-school phase. I guess.
The after school phase, so that RFP would still be.
Right, they were approved for year-round funding.
Right.
That started this summer and that will continue through the academic year.
Okay. Go ahead, Mr.
I just had one question for Brooke. Brooke, do you know if the 21st Century program itself has a non-supplication clause? What I'm wondering about is if CSC steps into the breach and provides the funding, would that disqualify the school district from receiving 21st Century?
No, it would not, because that particular grant is a competitive grant. It's not an entitlement grant.
And Commissioner Cummings.
Yes, I just have a couple clarifying questions. And I appreciate Superintendent Hannah and principals, those that are here that made the presentation. This is from Boys and Girls Club of BB. I'm sure I was single in County. But if we vote to provide the funding, the actual contract would be with Boys and Girls Club and not Leon County School. Am I correct?
Right.
Correct. Okay.
And I asked early on, because we heard from Ms. Lloyd, Early Learning Coalition, does that fit anywhere in this equation? They gave us the numbers, as far as the children that are impacted in various areas. There's no correlation whatsoever.
No, yeah, that's the school
Informational.
readiness. And by the way, there is a,
That's right, John.
yeah, there is a $40 million, that comes directly from the state of Florida, appropriated by the legislature. And there is a $40 million bucket by which counties like Leon County, ELC is really up to Big Bad, but it's mostly Leon County, can apply for some of that 40 million to fill that $6 million hole that she's referring to.
So I know we have contracted with Boys and Girls Club, but it was on a competitive basis, am I correct, Madam Executive? Right?
Yes, we currently have a contract with Boys and
Ongoing
Girls
contract with them now, okay. And so I know in the statutes, if you could help me, there are some services that are exempt from the procurement requirements. This run afoul of that, or would this be consistent or inconsistent with any requirements for competitive bid?
Yes, ma'am, and in fact, that's what.
This is what you're looking at now. Well, let me ask her another question while you're looking at it. As an executive director, I know we have established priorities as far as this council is concerned. One of our focuses has been, and I know the superintendent is always concerned about early learning in kindergarten, and elementary children, middle school children. And it seems to me that this within the ambit of what we have established as priorities as far as equipping our children.
Yes, so it fits in both the priority success in school and life. And it fits in the two funding categories of kindergarten readiness and youth development.
Okay.
And technically, it actually fits under family readiness too.
Awesome. So my position of Mr. Chair, I love it with our children, to be supportive of our children. If it's consistent with the law, doesn't run afoul of the statute. If my great treasurer is saying we've got the money, we have the money available. And I think the different variables, we can deal with it in the contract as far as the reimbursement or no reimbursement, what have you. I think the contract can be contrived to address any concerns that we have. So if it passes muster, I'm certainly in support of it. I wouldn't want our children to suffer for the next year. And of course, it would trickle down to the parents too, or trickle down to staff eventually being laid off. And if we can avoid that, and if we've got the funds to do that, and it might even mean being innovative with our budget for next year. Might have to cut something, might have to look at some summer funding programs, but I'm certainly in favor and supportive of this particular proposal.
Thank you, Councilmember Collins and Mr. Johnson.
Yeah, just real quickly, so I want to understand this point. So if we approve this at the full funding amount, do we have any issue if 21st century funding is released in being able to get out of the contract with Boys and Girls Club? So if we have $2.1 million committed in the contract with Boys and Girls Club, and all of a sudden we wake up and there's money in the bank from 21st century, is there a mechanism so that we're not contractually committed to fund the balance of the contract?
A provision in the contract that basically lays on what happens if the funding is restored. The money from CSC stops.
Fine.
Yeah, go ahead, Councilmember Collins.
Yes, just for clarification. Contract would be between the Children's Services Council and the Boys and Girls Club. So I'm having a problem making the connection between those two contracted entities in the Leon County School Board, who would be the grantor under those 21st century funds, or am I off correct on that? They would be the recipient of the funds. So we can't, I don't see how we could tie
They're the
third
management,
party.
they're managing the programs. That's what they're.
Right, and the recipients.
You bring up a good point. No,
So the.
no,
They do
yeah,
now.
because
They
that's
have
facts.
it now.
The reason that Mr. Rose said we would pay them on a monthly basis. Let's say we voted on this and on August 1st, it starts. Boys and Girls Club would submit an invoice at the end of August to the Children's Services Council, who would pay them for their services. Meanwhile, Secretary McMahon, I know you're watching, so please. But let's hope that we get an answer back from the United States Department of Education. At that point, the Leon County School District applies for the grant just like they've done forever. And it runs through, the federal dollars run through the Florida Department of Education, and those funds would start coming. As long as we put it in the contract that we will no longer fund it once 21st century starts, and we're only paying month to month. And again.
So we wouldn't expect to be reimbursed then is what.
Well, we can be reimbursed.
Okay.
But the school board would not be a party to.
Right, so like, here's why, I guess the school board could.
We could have another contract with the school board perhaps. Is that what you're thinking?
Well,
No.
Okay, that's help, Councilmember, Commissioner Cummings, that's helpful. I didn't think about that angle, so maybe just to clarify. If we were to do a sole source with Boys Town, month to month, is there a mechanism, is there not a mechanism if the 21st century funds kick in, that we will be able to, and we pay Boys Town, okay, and then the money, Boys and Girls Club, and the money came in, we wouldn't be able to go back to Boys and Girls Club and request that money.
Because they're not receiving them.
At a minimum, you could stop the payment
Right.
funds, but you could stop the payment.
Could the school district reimburse us? I mean, could the school district?
Be a grant requirement.
We could enter a contract.
The grant would allow it. Well, if nothing else, again, I did not get specific clarity about timing, and I guess, only because the person who's giving me the answers doesn't know.
As long as we can stop payment upon the start,
Right.
I'm okay with it. Because we don't want to start a program and then stop it and start it again.
And not worry about reimbursement.
So Brooke, what about you? When would you have seen your first payment on this grant? When would you have seen it from the Florida Department of Education? The first time you would have gotten payment?
So often there's a delay. And because our superintendent believes in these programs, the school system fronts the money so that we can serve the families. So to answer your question, it varies from year to year. Typically the grant cycle would start in August, but sometimes we don't see payment from the Florida Department of Education until November.
So I'm wondering, and Chris, this is really kind of a question that maybe gets to Commissioner Cummings' point. Look, I think everybody knows what we're trying to do.
Yeah.
We're putting $2.1 million aside in our existing funds to pay for this program in the event that the pause never is released.
If I may, I think what we'd have to do, even if it is it at the same level? Is it reduced funding? There would be a lot of things for us really to sort out if and when it ever is released. But I think we can do that, right? I mean, we can sit around and, yeah, and well, now it was cut in half. The 2.1 is now only $1 million. It only funds this school or that school. and figure that piece out.
So voting tonight, I think everybody needs to understand that if we're voting on the potential of $2.1 million, which we currently have, leaving our budget and never seeing it again, which, by the way, I'm a yes.
All right, do we have any other comments or questions? Go ahead, Councilman.
I would just say that if I was wanting to hedge our exposure, if we don't know if we can get released from the contract for Boys and Girls Club, I wouldn't fund them for $2.1 million. I'd fund them for something less with an option to renew it. And then that way, the worst case scenario is whatever I contract with them for. If I contracted with for 2.1, even if it's got monthly releases in it, I can't legally
do a month to month.
unwind that.
A month to month amount.
Okay.
Is it a 12-month program or is it so I would we'll enter into a contract month to month with Boys Town up to 12 months for whatever 2.1 is divided by 12.
When is this?
Starting
It's 11.
August 11th.
It's amended.
One second.
It will, but can we do quarterly instead of month to month?
Yeah, I was gonna recommend
Yes, I would.
that we have 3 months up front or something.
That's fine.
Get the thing rolling, at least we're not in this limbo land of being on the hook.
Cases in the back.
Go ahead, Secretary.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So with all of our contracts, we normally do quarterly disbursements with an upfront payment at contract signing. So there is a percentage that can be realized by the entity with whom we contract upfront. And then it's quarterly disbursements after that with the reporting that comes in, it's reviewed, the financials, all of the things. Once that's approved, then that next disbursement will go out. So if this council approves, we can absolutely do that, which means that you would be approving a full amount, but that full amount would not be automatically transferred. It would go with our normal contracting practices.
There would not be enough, so you guys need this funding starting August or July, and September now. So tonight a decision would be made, and I'm assuming we would likely be asking for the contract to come back before us.
The contract does not have to come.
But it sounds like
In a form of a resolution, would
Would recommend
a
resolution.
contracting this magnitude, you want something.
so, and what does that time, we're just looking at logistics, that timeline will look like what?
So we do not have another a regular council meeting until September. However, the council could approve to allow the executive committee to review and make a decision, and then we can just ratify that at the September meeting.
Has anyone made a motion? I'll make a motion that we vote on approving the 2.1 million allocation based upon a quarterly payment structure with the Boys and Girls Club. Boys and Girls Club, yeah. And that we give allowance to the executive committee to review and approve the contract before execution.
Okay. Do we have that's a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second by Mr. Mitchell.
Can we,
Oh, yes, ma'am.
I would like to just add a friendly amendment, Mr. O'Brien, if we can also add that the contract will be sent to all, just email to the council members as well.
Thank you.
Do we have to get a second on the front?
I'm good.
Oh, okay, accept. All right. And we have to do public, oh, go ahead.
We're about to vote on this. We need him to make a decision first.
Regarding the procurement, yeah, so the procurement policy of the CSC includes a number of exemptions from the competitive process, one of which being sole source. I'm not sure it's sole source. Another is emergency purchases, yeah. And it is basically entirely up to this board to decide whether or not.
We like your answer, Mr. Rogan.
Yeah, there you go.
And it's that's an emergency proposal.
I was sorry, bring this up. The emergency proposal, that's not what our emergency Do we come up with emergency?
We do not.
Discussed that, right?
No, no,
And
no.
nothing to do with this, okay.
It's in our procurement
Got it, okay,
policies.
all right, got it,
Can go out of that
okay,
for an emergency purpose.
got it. Okay, so we have the motion, friendly amendment accepted, and now we have to do public comment, is that right? Do you have any public comment cards?
You don't have any bubbles about your Bibles.
All right, so we have the motion and we have a second. All in favor, say aye. Hold on. Mr. Terrell.
Mr. Jerome, can I get a determination by eligibility to vote on?
Both you and superintendent are eligible to vote on this because the money is being awarded to Boys and Girls Club, not.
All right.
You're not allowed to recuse yourself if you don't have a reason.
We do have public comment now.
Right.
All right.
Mr. Watts, if you would accept it.
Yes. Perfect.
Mr. Dennis would like to speak.
Yes, so just really quick, I listened to everything. Boys and Girls Club is 100% behind us making sure that all of our kids are served. I will say it is a little, scary hearing, you have to pay this money back and all those things there. And my board is 100% behind it, but I just want to have some sort of clarity about the fact of us paying money back in this amount that would really, could harm us if that's what this council is.
I don't think that's what we're saying.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that
We're just saying that if the new program gets unpaused.
Gotcha, okay.
Yeah.
All right, just want to make sure we're.
And thank you for the figures.
No, that is all.
Any other comment? Okay, did you want to first off?
Yeah, we can work all that out.
All right. Yes, so with that, we have a motion. Do I need to repeat it? Okay. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. All right, so now we yield back to Chair Jones to Chair Wilkerson.
All right, Mr. Mitchell. We're ready to continue our conversation regarding the military.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Before they leave, I want to thank all the principals and other.
Yeah, thanks.
And support, and we are delighted to make this intentional investment in your work and the children that you serve. Talked again, the superintendent, the student, all who helped, Mr. Dennis, they're going to help to make this this possible to meet the needs of our young people. Thank you.
Next time.
All right, now you have trails. I'm sorry,
Okay, really it's two items, and that is our budget for next year as well as setting a millage rate. If you look at your green sheet, your green and white sheet that was passed out by Ms. Whitley at the beginning. Go down to anticipated program investments. Okay, which is the second to last, third to last box, but the second to last green stripe. Recognizing that family supports was reduced by $238,000 tonight, so that'll put it around 900,000, 862. But you'll see that the total anticipated program is $7.2 million. That is what our budget is for next year. Okay, having nothing to do with the discussion tonight, just starts from scratch. That is what we are projecting our budget to be for next year for programs. Now, if you go to the top, what we have done is we have in descending order, we have offered, and there is nothing magic about any of these 5 numbers. They're just 5 numbers. You'll see that our the rollback rate, if we were to try to collect the same amount of money this year as we did last year, the rollback rate would be 0.3297. I will put one caveat that we have done a rollback rate in the past and it generated $600,000 more. That was a slightly different kind of year from a real estate perspective. I don't expect it ever to get to that point, but it is likely because the numbers we use are so conservative that we would generate more than the 8.5 million that's listed there. If you go down, our current ad valorem rate is 0.3477. The first one we ever used was 0.375. That's why that comes next. 0.4 was one that was thrown out at the finance committee, so we added it. And 0.5 is the maximum allowed by law. So those are the 5 numbers that we need to take a look at. And what the requirement is that we pass both a budget and funding to cover the budget. And that is, you basically take your budget and you sort of divide out a millage rate to come up with what you need to raise from the taxpayers. Keep in mind, this is only a programmatic funding number, budget number. It doesn't include our overhead. Having said that, you now have total dollar amount that we need to raise and how to get there. And I am happy to answer any questions you all have. If there's clarification needed, yeah, but please do keep in mind one thing, and that is that all of these numbers are conservative. And when I say conservative, this is not the gambler who would have said FSU's in the Final Four. This is 100% certainty. We will raise more than this number suggests. Not a doubt in my mind. And by the way, I made that same statement 2 years ago when we rolled back. I guessed somewhere in the 350,000, and like I said, it was 600,000.
So what is going to be the projected budget for this year?
The projected programmatic budget is well, it says 7.2. You got to subtract 238 from that. So it's really 6.9 million, give or take a couple of bucks, Mr. O'Brien. Plus, I apologize. That is programmatic. That is not staffing, it's rent.
What's the full budget?
Of all time, I want to say it's about 1.2 million, but I want her to be here to give you the exact number. Where did the go? Get there.
What number are you?
I'm looking at
Total budget.
administrative, the administrative bucket over here.
So if you're looking at the budget sheet, so this is the launch sheet.
Yes.
Oh,
that's right. It's on there.
What Treasurer Mitchell was saying is if you, it depends on what millage rate you're looking at. So if you're looking at,
remember that
program investment.
Yeah, so remember, Mark, that
The budget should be the budget.
it isn't though, because if we raise $9 million, I just want to do that. There is a percentage by law that has to go to the property appraiser and the tax collector. It's based on how much they collect. If how much we collect, our policy of 10%, 8%, 2% for emergency provisions, much like we voted on tonight, that's a requirement to go into the budget. So that's why the number changes depending on how much we raise, but really by and large,
Finance committee coming with a recommendation.
we came the same we've always done, and that is to bring all the information forward. If maybe I'll tell you, if finance chair would move is that we leave the millage rate exactly as it is.
Is that a motion?
So can we, I have a question for you. Can we pay for our proposed budget with the current revenue driven by the current millage rate and keep a reserve.
Yes.
Even with what we proposed and passed tonight. I make a motion that we keep the millage rate.
Well, we finished with discussion because I haven't said it.
I make a motion.
But
You can have discussion after the motion.
I make a motion that we adopt the current millage rate of 0.3477 for the fiscal year 25-26.
I'll second that. You got it. Got it.
all right, so anyone else have any comments regarding before we go to public comment? The reason one of the things that I thought was important, I understand the emergency situation that the superintendent has described and what we have settled. But before he spoke, there was another emergency situation that was also described regarding the human service agencies that provide services to our children and to our families. And those wraparound services that are critical and that are also no different than the school district now dealing with stressors. And they made a presentation that described what is the impact, particularly for children's service organizations, many of whom we fund. And so, of course, and don't get me wrong, I am 100% in support of what we've done for the school district. But the need is greater than just for them. Everyone is being impacted, particularly as we talk about the dispensation of services. And so when we talk about moving the needle in academic progress, the superintendent himself said that it has been because of other programs that have been able to provide critical services that have been a complement to what we do in our school system that has helped us to have Latoya Hankerson. When she talks about how she's been able to move the needle from her school having been a D last year to an A this year, it is not lost on me as her school board member that because she now has a dental site that is funded through the Bond Community Health Center, so now those children who used to come to school and couldn't study because their teeth were hurting, or they had dental concerns, or when the Bond Community Health Center mobile unit comes to the school and deals with the illnesses of these children, because oftentimes underinsured families rely upon emergency rooms and these other services because they don't have primary health care. So when those programs will be potentially underfunded as has been described to us, those same agencies will come to us with simpler situations as has been described by the school district. And I can't imagine how we can hear what we've heard today and then still say that we want to keep the same millage rate. Because there is a crisis afoot for our human service providers. And if we're providing, there will be other emergency situations that we may have to do. Imagine this. Imagine if Monique Ellsworth, who deals with food security issues, right now, Monique Ellsworth, every day, every Friday, there are kids at our schools who leave with a backpack full of food to feed their family for the weekend. If headlines are to be believed, programs like that will also dealing with the same types of freezes and pauses. And here we're talking about food insecurity. And so here now, we as a Children's Services Council, and I hope to live long enough that I can retire. But there are those who will spend their entire lives working until they die. And there are families that are sorely impacted by that, and children most specifically. So I'm not trying to, I may be the bleeding heart, but I make no apologies for that. But these are children. And so it would be a shame for us to make such great progress in our schools, but yet here now, when these other critical services outside of what occurs at the on the schoolhouse, but is attributed to this, is adjacent to the schoolhouse, if those programs are in jeopardy as well, I think we need to be considering that as we talk about a future military.
if it makes you feel more comfortable, one, I too, have a bleeding heart. I know sometimes it's not recognized, but as a human being, I do have a bleeding heart. Will say this, that, some of those services, it's inaccurate. Some of what was said today, specifically as it relates to school readiness. Again, it's good to point out that there's a $6 million deficit, but it isn't accurate to say that it will be 6 million at the end. A 40 or $54 million bucket exists at the Florida Department of Education to fill part of that bucket. The additional thing I'd like to point out is that this isn't a zero-based budget. We will still have about $850,000 or $900,000 in contingency and emergency funds, and it will still leave us with around $1 million. That's if we take nothing back, which has never happened. So many of the concerns that you have, Mr. Chair, I believe that we can meet. And then the final thing I'll say is this is an amazing organization, but it can't be everything to everyone. And we're not going to solve all of Leon County's problems with the Children's Services Council. And I have said this time and time again, when we get to the point, and tonight really was a great point, when we get to the point where we are spending large blocks of money on small things, we are going deep and not wide. And real funding needs are necessary. Again, we may find ourselves in a very different set of shoes next year. I tell anyone who will listen, I will be the first person to say, my recommendation is we raise the millage rate. But I believe that we have an obligation to our neighbor who live within our means, and having a 1.5 or $2 million buffer is certainly living within our means.
I can't help but remember what Ms. Gordon or Mr. Fitzpatrick described. What were the areas where we were seeing the greatest impact? Mr. Gordon, come to the podium. Remind us of those areas. Wasn't it healthcare?
It was healthcare, food, and housing. Yeah, so if I may.
Yes.
So one of the things that we have to keep in mind, yes, the CSC is not put in place to solve everybody's needs. But in my previous life, when I worked with At Promise Children, I remember all the legwork that was done for the CSC to be here. And I know one of the big things was to make sure that we're providing adequate services to wrap around kids and families. And one of the big concerns, and we said it earlier, we will say it again, as these cuts come down the pipeline, it's going to make it critical for these families. And if we don't have, you can't fund everything, but if we don't have the resources to fund new and innovative and creative ways to serve our children, because not one program fits every child, then I think we're putting ourselves in a very tough situation.
Because for me, and we can wax on this all night, I'm sure. But when I think about healthcare, housing, and food being the areas where we see the greatest amount of vulnerability in terms of monies made available presently, and what we see as our forecast for the next fiscal year for our human service agencies. Again, as I described in an allegory earlier, if these organizations are the safety net and the holes in the safety net are larger, that means there will be more children that fall through those holes.
Absolutely, because what happens with the family flows down. And so it's going to be a lot more children. I mean, all the things that we've talked about, you all have talked about leading up to today and even today, kids are already starting to fall through the holes. They're going to fall even more through the holes. And if the physical, the emotional, all of those safety domains are not in place, kids are not going to be able to thrive in educational settings or no settings because their needs are not going to be met, period.
And dads matter. I just want to thank you, ma'am. I just wanted to, and so I thought, so It's not either or, it's both and. We have provided a solution, a very necessary solution. But what we know, I mean, the superintendent and I both know that from 3 to 6, we call it the witching hour. Because when children are unattended during the witching hour, that is when we have the great sheriff right here. He would tell you that it's a time for the greatest incidents for juvenile crime, right? But when we also know that health insecurities for our children, housing instability for our children, and food insecurity for our children are also enormous barriers to learning and cognitive development. So I just wanted to know that we were created not to take the place of, but to complement already existing funding opportunities that were already manifest here in our community through CHSP and other sources. But all of those are now made more vulnerable. So here now we have an opportunity to make a local decision about how we impact our local human service community. And that's why so if we make the motion, I get it, but I want us to take, we cannot unsee what we saw on that screen, and we cannot unhear what we have heard. Thank you. Yes, sir.
And if I will, I was the only no vote earlier. And I wasn't a no vote on supporting those organizations. I was a no vote on increasing them all by 10%. Okay. We can't be everything. Can't continue. And I'm very appreciative. And you talk about what we did for this. Didn't do anything for the school system. What we did was help 1,700 children not leave school and go home and run the streets for 3 hours. It's not about me or the school system or, fine, we'll educate them 3 o'clock, get on the bus and go home or walk home. See you tomorrow. So it wasn't about what the school system got or what we didn't get. It was about those 1,700 kids. And the only reason I was a no vote on the other piece was we raised it 10%. Yeah. It was probably $100,000, a little over $100,000 between 200 something thousand and 300,000. Right. At some point, something has to give. And I just think if Mr. Mitchell says right now for this year, and if they come back and we see that, yeah, and it is bad. This time next year, yeah, we need the same people. Fine, my classmate will be back here again next year, right? But if we see that this time next year that there are significant needs and holes and cuts that never came back, then I think we address it again. But I think for now, for this year, yes, my recommendation is we keep it the same.
I'm stuck. I don't know if you did. If you guys did. Good. Yeah, okay. The public comments.
Yes, public comment.
First we have Miss Emily Fritz.
So how many public comments are there? How many times can you publicly comment
before each item?
Yeah.
Before we vote.
I'm gonna be short, I promise.
Okay.
Yeah, trust me, I'm just as tired as you are. It's probably more tiring to watch the game than be part of it. Trust me, I'm exhausted. Anyway, I support your motion. It makes sense. You look at the proposals, there's easily money to fund what you want. I also think that anybody, in fact, I know if anybody follows what's going on in the federal government, frozen funds become unfrozen quite often. So I have a feeling that we're not even going to need that 2.1. But keeping the millage rate does cover that. And if you look at this list of 137 programs that y'all contracted, you can eliminate a lot of these. And because you're just not targeted. If you become more targeted, you can actually accomplish more. I recommend supporting Rocky's motion.
Linda Bullock. Pam Westling. Name and address for the record, 3 minutes.
Pam Westling, 9204 Old Shimoni Road. I'm here today because I'm representing the tax-paying citizens. But I wanted to add a few things. One is that I am retired now, but I spent 50 years working in nursing, and I'm a nurse practitioner. And what did I do as a family nurse practitioner? but cared for families and children and people of all ages. So I very much, especially having been a working mother for many of those years, appreciate services that you are providing. And I also appreciate that you all are very responsible stewards of the money that you are provided by the taxpayers. And that impressed me so much. And I wish that you would get that word out to the citizens of this county because they're not hearing it. Okay? They're not hearing it and they need to know what great things that you all are. Now, in looking at the taxes, it's just short and sweet. If you roll back the taxes, the millage rate, excuse me, it means that you said we might even make the budget. And it's not the only thing that's driving property taxes right now. So that would be a first. That would be great. If you kept the millage rate the same, which is your proposal, you actually will make more money because as we all know, property values have gone up. So all of our property taxes are going to be more this year. Yours, mine, people who rent. Because if somebody owns a property, the person that's renting is going to have to pay the property taxes in some way. So it's going to fall on all of us, not just me, but everybody. So I do not support you raising the millage rate because I feel that's usurious. You are going to have more money and you'll be able to fund everything. And I also agree that I think there will be more money for the school system. I don't think that we're going to leave them high and dry. So that's all I have to say. It was a long meeting. I don't let my meetings in my organization run that long.
Mr. Klein Miller.
Klein Miller, 2344 Kilkenny Drive East. So, y'all know how I feel on taxes. I don't like them. However, I think holding the rate at the 0.3477 is acceptable. I do want to ask the program something because Emily alluded to it earlier. Governor DeSantis is trying to eliminate property tax in the state of Florida. Whether it happens or not, I don't know. But if it does, how will it impact this program? Will it be eliminated, defunded? We don't know. So what I'm getting at, I think in the statute, y'all are eligible to apply for grant money. Is that correct? Okay. It would behoove you to start looking at grants out there and market your program to the public. If these programs are viable, and it sounds like most of them are, I think if you really like I have to sell my service, Mr. O'Brien has to sell his hospital. I mean, we have a captive market, but we don't get checks automatically. We've got to work for the money. I think if you get out there and you market the program, you apply for grants, it's like a sales call. You just make the calls. You're not going to close every deal, but if you stay at it 5 days a week, 8 hours a day, you're going to get the business. I think if y'all get out there and market for grant money and market the program to the community on what you're doing, and also you can say, look, we didn't raise our millage rate. We're going to be fiscally responsible, and here's what we're doing. I do think limiting the number of programs that receive money is a good thing because it takes less administrative staff. I mean, to manage all these programs versus to manage a handful is much easier to manage. Simple as that. So I said last meeting, I looked at these proposed numbers for this year. Based on the numbers that were on that one pager, your expenses are going to be at the current millage rate, 26.87% of it. That's a lot of expenses. The other counties in the state, including when I had Leon County, the average was, I think, 10%, 15, I can't remember, but it was a lot less. So I really think y'all need to look at your expense level as a program and see what you can do to cut some of those costs. If you cut the cost, and I do believe Mr. Mitchell, because I've run some numbers too, and I concur with him, the money is there, but I think if you cut your expenses, you seek grant money, you market the program, this can be a very viable program, and you won't have to depend on the taxpayer dollar. In my business, I deal with a lot of insurance. People pay secondary. They don't have 100% insurance. They have a copay. And with the taxes going up in like Leon County School Board, anyway, I think y'all can go on. Thanks.
Ms. Kelly Oddie. Name and address for the record.
Kelly Oddie, 1075 Alameda Drive. I'm here as a taxpayer, although I do want to acknowledge, thank you for renewing the Oasis Center for Women and Girls Grants. I heard your heart. Thank you. This is simply just to put this into perspective. I would like for you to raise the millage, and I would like for you to raise it because there isn't just one emergency coming. There are lots of emergencies coming. And the reality is that the more that the federal government and the state push down to the local government, nobody else in this community has any wiggle room to help. The city and the county aren't going to be able to help. The district is in trouble with their funding. You are the only ones that have any room at all. And just like I want to see kids in safe after school, I also want to see them getting fresh fruits and vegetables. And so I think it's really imperative to give yourself room to fund emergencies. But here's what I really want to say. On Alameda Drive, which is off Buck Lake in the zip code 32317, my husband pays $54.51 a year for the Children's Services Council. That works out to $2.85 a pay period. If you raise the millage rate to 4, it would raise what we have to pay to $90 a year. And we would end up paying less than 3, just a little under less than 3.5 per pay period. In 32312, a friend of mine lives on Farnsworth. Hers is $241 a year. If it's raised, she would pay $12.38 per pay period. My friend on Ridge Road, 32305, right now she pays $8.69 a year for the Children's Services Council. That is 33 cents a pay period. If you raised it to the 4, she would be paying 0.45 cents a pay period to fund additional dollars for emergency services. The siren call of we're all dying under taxes is not it doesn't mean in this case that there is no ability for this community to handle a little bit more. Because you're literally asking me to fund an additional less than $1 a pay period to fund more money for organizations that are in need. So that was the point that I wanted to make. Thank you.
Ms. Colleen Barton. Ms. Dorothy Lee McPherson.
I'm stiff, so it's gonna take me a minute. Sitting there this time.
Name and address for the record for about 3 minutes.
Yes, I am. Dorothy Lee McPherson, 24236 Lanier Street, Tallahassee, Florida. I'm going to start with the SIPS 2025 report that y'all have on the internet. And it has 14 applicant names here. I'm not sure if they're already getting money or if they're wanting money, but I read through this, and 11 of the 14 entities on this list, y'all had 11 complaints or negative comments. And I'm wondering, we're going to raise money and still give them the money without making them come into compliance with our goals, our intentions. So it doesn't make sense to just start raising money and these people aren't even necessarily meeting what they're supposed to be doing as an entity that has apparently been approved by somebody. And I'm sorry, I don't understand the whole process. And what my question is your SIPS report 2025 based on information that would be evaluated the way OPAGA with the legislature evaluates other special districts to determine the continuation of funding.
or how much funding they get. Performance accountability is very important. The SIPS report is not reassuring, with 11 of the 14 having questionable conclusions in this report on the right-hand comment side. The projected population for Leon County in 5 years is only 10,600 new residences. With minimal growth coming, I don't know why we think we're gonna have more money now. And I'm not sure they're gonna bring in all that much money later. So I think you need to take that into consideration. I'm not an expert in all this. Hold on, I've lost my place. Charlie Ward, Coach Charlie Ward, he's building or has built the Champions Ranch out on the south end of town. 7.5 million phase 1, 9 million to operate needed. He's doing it with private funds. He's not coming to a group like yours that I know of, because I don't see it on here. Can you get private funding to help y'all like Coach Ward is doing? Instead of continuing to raise our taxes, this lady's talking about her taxes. My taxes I live in a house that was built in 1956. It's not worth very much. It's concrete block, fishing shack. And my taxes are so high, I'm not sure I'm gonna be able to pay my taxes if they go up much more. So, and I can't afford to sell the house because it's so cheap to live in. Already?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Well, I'm a Tallahassee girl. I grew up on the south side poor and,
South side.
south side, absolutely. We had kids going to school with no shoes. We had kids going to school whose daddies were gone, and, we all survived. Now, some of my friends are multimillionaires that were going to school with no shoes on till the 8th grade. So, and we had Girl Scouts and Boy Scouts and
Bless you.
4-H, and we learned how to survive. And I had a good job ultimately and raised my 4 children and 7 grandsons.
Southside.
Southside.
Yes, sir.
And then
I didn't know there were.
That's all our public comments.
That's all of our public comment. Thank you so very much for all of our speakers. Again, colleagues, I just want to remind us that here we will approach our 5th year. At point 3477, we still remain the lowest millage rate of the 11 children's services councils across the state. And we have been, in spite of what has been sometimes public comment, we've all been a part of this process for some time. And I'd like to believe that the decisions that we have made have been good decisions of stewardship. Again, with the lowest millage rate of any of the children's services councils in the state of Florida, and that is commendable. We have been fiscally prudent. We have been fiscally conservative. But again, just to wax once more, I cannot unsee what I have seen, and I cannot unhear what I have heard. And then I also tend to believe what I have read. And I just would hope that we could, as a Children's Services Council, be willing to continue to trust our stewardship as we would consider an alternative to remaining the same for our ministry. Right? So, Mr. Mitchell.
Yeah, I just want to remind the judge, she can vote on the budget, not the millage rate. And there was 2 quick points. One, it has happened by this council. We have rolled back the millage rate one time, just from public comment. And 2, in this budget is money for a grant writer. So, Mr. Miller, you may get your wish. That was it.
All right. So we have a motion on the floor, correct? With a motion and a second. Any other additional discussion? All those in favor of, and also let me say this, Mr. Hammond. I am very, very proud that you brought the recommendation and did the legwork, sought the counsel, the counsel of of Mr. Rowe to be able to bring a proposal that we could be able to respond to what we know is a school crisis. And I want to thank you and everybody else involved. So I don't want you to think that I'm somehow not in support of what we've done here. I am very, very happy because, as you know, those are my schools and my students as well. And I want to thank you for what we were able to do today and for you able to bring that proposal to us so that we'd be able to provide the services that we'll be able to continue to provide for our young people. So hats off to you. So it wasn't about me in any way being critical of you, but there are other needs beyond what we have already satisfied here. But I want you to take that to see as if I was somehow making some attacking you, because that wasn't what I was saying. Okay?
Dude, I got some thick skin, trust me, we're good.
You up here on a ballot outside.
We are good.
All right. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Nay. All right. Mr. Mitchell, was that it for you?
Budget. Yes, I do need to get a motion on the budget.
I'll move the budget with the current millage.
Any additional discussion? Any public speakers on the budget?
It's fired.
I just get the motion, praise it.
All in favor?
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It passes unanimously. All right. What's next?
Next meeting.
All right, our next meeting, executive committee meeting is Thursday, September 10th. And it's a budget committee Thursday, September 10th, 12:30 p.m. Governing council meeting Thursday, September 18th at 4 p.m. Trim hearing will be at 6. Trim hearing number 1, trim hearing number 2. Be Thursday, September 25th. It will just be the trim hearing only. And then we'll come back for our next governing council annual meeting. Will be Thursday, October 9th at 4 p.m. All right?
Mr. Chairman, I do think we need an executive committee before September because of this contract. We need to call one. Yeah, so you just.
And that'll be, the director will get in touch with the three of us.
Right.
Any final comments, any member comments for the good of the order before we? Yes, sir.
Yeah, I appreciate the kind words. It was not me, it was that lady right.
All right.
Can I make a comment?
Yes,
Happy
ma'am.
belated birthday to Commissioner Cummings and Director Green. We love you guys. Happy birthday. I didn't make the cupcakes. I didn't, no. I made bread, not cupcakes.
Thank you.
We are adjourned.
Hey, Brooke, out of her.
Have this.
Out of her.